Long before the cities of men hummed with life, before the olive groves swayed under the warm sun, there was a quiet place high among the clouds, a palace of white stone and golden light, where the gods lingered in their endless calm. In this serene expanse, the world below seemed gentle, a soft swirl of forests, rivers, and hills, each breath of wind carrying whispers of Earth's quiet secrets. Even the clouds had a softness to them, like folds of cotton drifting slowly across a vast blue canvas. Among the immortal beings, there was one presence unlike any other, Athena. She was not born in the usual way, with cries or warmth, but in a way that caused the world to pause and listen. Zeus, the king of gods, could carry in his mind a thought so weighty and profound that it needed form. From this thought, Athena came into the light, not with screams, not with struggle, but with a soft, deliberate unfolding. The world itself seemed to inhale as she appeared, a quiet awe settling over the mountains and seas. Her hair shimmered like polished bronze in the sun, though it moved as though stirred by winds no one could feel. Her eyes were a shade of gray that reminded one of dawn just before it brightened the sky, steady, knowing, and still. There was a calmness about her, a careful patience, as if every motion she made had been considered for an eternity before reaching the present moment. Even her first breath seemed to carry thought, a reflection of wisdom yet unspoken but deeply felt. Athena's first steps upon the earth were gentle, almost reverent. Moss felt soft beneath her sandals, and each blade of grass seemed to bend slightly, acknowledging her presence. Birds paused in their songs, and the wind itself seemed to hesitate before brushing against her. She reached out to touch a small stream, feeling the cool water rush over her fingers. In that simple sensation she understood, as though memory itself had seeped into her awareness, the quiet truths of life, the patience of rivers, the persistence of mountains, the soft resilience of the smallest creatures. In those first moments, Athena contemplated the nature of thought and action. To act without reflection was easy, she realized, but to think and act in harmony, that required balance, care, and understanding. She lingered beside the stream, listening to the gentle trickle, feeling its rhythm. It reminded her that wisdom was not a sudden flash, but a slow unfolding, each ripple carrying knowledge forward. She wondered quietly how the minds of men below could ever grasp such subtlety, yet she also felt a gentle curiosity toward them, a desire to watch, to guide, to understand. The world beneath her was waking, unaware of the new presence that observed it from above. Fields stretched toward the horizon, golden under the early sun. Trees swayed in silent conversation, their leaves brushing together like whispers. Even the soil seemed to hum softly with life, a deep pulse that spoke of seasons, growth, and quiet endurance. Athena's awareness extended to all of it, not as ownership but as recognition. Each element was distinct, yet connected in ways subtle and intricate. She understood that wisdom required not only knowledge but the ability to see these hidden connections, to recognize patterns invisible to most. As the day slowly unfolded, Athena walked among the mountains, the soft thrum of life beneath her steps grounding her thoughts. She watched an eagle glide effortlessly between cliffs, its wings slicing through the air with precision and grace. She imagined what it would feel like to ride those currents, to sense the air and the wind as extensions of one's own thought. A small smile brushed her lips, not of amusement, but of quiet understanding. The eagle, in its silent flight, mirrored something she would come to cherish, the clarity that comes from attentiveness, the beauty in observing before acting. Later, she came to a grove of olive trees, their trunks thick with age, roots twisting beneath the soil like thoughtful fingers. The leaves shimmered with a silver-green glow as sunlight fell upon them, creating a gentle dance of light and shadow across the earth. Athena paused beneath them, laying a hand on the rough bark. The texture grounded her, reminded her of the patience it took to grow, the slow accumulation of strength and knowledge over time. She felt a soft satisfaction, a quiet contentment in simply observing and sensing the life around her. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in muted shades of amber and rose, Athena found a high ledge overlooking the valleys below. She sat, legs folded gently beneath her, and let the breeze brush against her skin, carrying with it scents of pine, earth, and the distant sea. In that moment, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here, the peculiar nature of her birth, the deliberate unfolding of thought that had made her who she was. She felt a gentle certainty that her purpose was not simply to act, but to understand, to perceive, and in subtle ways to guide. As twilight deepened, the stars began to emerge, each one a quiet point of light against the vast darkness. Athena gazed upward, feeling the immensity of the universe settle around her like a soft blanket. She imagined the lives of mortals below, brief and fleeting, yet rich with potential for thought, choice, and reflection. There was a tenderness in the knowledge that wisdom was not a gift to be forced upon anyone, but a quiet seed, one that might bloom only with patience, observation, and gentle encouragement. And so, with night settling softly over the land, Athena closed her eyes for a brief moment, letting the cool evening air wrap around her. Her mind was alive with curiosity, a gentle awareness that would guide her through countless days and endless encounters. She sensed that this was only the beginning, that beneath the calm exterior of the world and of herself lay countless truths waiting to be discovered, truths that would unfold slowly, like the petals of a delicate flower under the careful gaze of the sun. As the moon rose, casting a silvery glow over the valleys and streams, Athena felt the first whisper of purpose stir within her. It was quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it carried the weight of all the knowledge she had yet to gather. And in that whisper, there was a gentle promise that her wisdom, mysterious and deep, would one day touch those who sought it, guiding them in ways unseen but profoundly felt. The night embraced her, and the world held its breath, listening to the soft beginning of a story that had only just begun. Chapter 2: The Quiet Watcher. The moon drifted higher, its pale light resting gently upon the slopes of the mountains. Shadows stretched long and soft across the valleys, wrapping the earth in a calm stillness. Athena sat upon her ledge, listening. The world seemed hushed, as if waiting for her thoughts to form, as if the night itself leaned closer to hear her first reflections. She touched the stone beneath her fingers. It was cool, rough in places, smooth in others, shaped over countless years by wind and rain. On its surface, she felt the slow memory of the earth, the patience of time itself. She thought about her own sudden birth, the swift arrival of her being, and how it contrasted with the stone's quiet endurance. A gentle wonder stirred in her. Could wisdom be both sudden and patient? Could thought arrive in an instant yet still be shaped across ages? The owl was the first creature to draw near. Its wings moved without sound, gliding through the air until it settled on a branch above her. Its round eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, wide and unblinking. Athena tilted her head slightly, mirroring its gaze. There was a kinship in that silence, an understanding between watcher and watcher. The owl did not cry or stir. It only observed, and in its steady presence, Athena felt the shape of a companion spirit. "Silent one," she whispered softly, her voice no louder than the rustle of leaves. "You see in the night what others cannot." The owl blinked, and the air carried a sense of quiet agreement. Athena smiled faintly, knowing she had found a reflection of herself in this small, unassuming creature. It was not strength that defined it, nor size nor power, but its ability to perceive what went unnoticed by others. She sensed the beginnings of a bond, one that would endure far longer than this single night. She rose from her seat and began to walk. The path wound downward, leading her into the valleys where mortal villages lay sleeping. From afar, she saw faint fires glowing, small pinpoints of warmth against the darkness. The smell of wood smoke carried on the breeze, mingling with the scents of pine and earth. She paused, breathing in the mixture, allowing it to settle within her as part of her memory. The villages were quiet. Wooden roofs glimmered faintly under the moonlight, and narrow paths twisted between them. No sound of voices reached her, only the soft crackle of fading hearts. Athena did not step too close. She lingered at the edges, careful not to disturb the gentle peace of human rest. Yet she observed with tender curiosity. She wondered what dreams the mortals held behind their closed eyes. Did they see rivers, mountains, or stars? Did their minds wander to thoughts of love, or fear, or questions without answers? She leaned lightly against the trunk of an olive tree, feeling its bark press into her back. The owl remained near, shifting silently from branch to branch, watching as she watched. Athena whispered again, this time to herself. "Their lives are short, yet their thoughts stretch far. Perhaps their questions will one day call to me." Her gaze drifted upward to the stars. She noticed how the constellations arched across the night sky like stories drawn in light. Each pattern suggested movement, connection, a tale frozen above for those who cared to read it. She wondered if mortals looked upward as she did, searching for meaning in the scatter of lights. The thought warmed her, for it meant that even in their briefness, they shared her hunger to know, to see, to understand. As the night deepened, a gentle wind stirred through the valley. It carried the sound of water flowing nearby, steady and soothing. Athena followed it, her steps light upon the earth. The stream curved through rocks and grass, its surface reflecting the moon like silver threads woven across the land. She knelt beside it, dipping her fingers into the coolness. The water embraced her skin and slipped away, continuing on its journey without pause. She felt a kinship there too, the endless movement, the quiet persistence of something small yet unceasing. The owl circled once overhead, then returned to a branch near her. Its feathers brushed the air in near silence, softer than a sigh. Athena closed her eyes, hearing only the stream and the faint rustle of wings. A calm certainty settled within her. Wisdom would not be given to her all at once. It would come through these small observations, these soft encounters with earth, sky, and the lives that moved between them. When dawn approached, the sky shifted again, turning from indigo to pale rose. The stars faded, one by one, until only the glow of the horizon remained. Athena stood slowly, letting the first light touch her face. The world began to stir, the distant crow of a rooster, the faint stirring of branches as small creatures awoke. Mortals, too, would soon rise, stepping into another day, unaware of the quiet watcher who had passed among them. She turned back toward the mountains, her cloak brushing softly against the grass. The owl followed, faithful and silent. As she climbed, Athena thought of what she had seen, stone and stream, stars and dreams, the brief lives of mortals and the patience of the earth. Each small piece carried meaning, waiting to be joined into something greater. She sensed that the threads of wisdom would weave themselves slowly, not through commands or sudden revelations, but through gentle guidance, through quiet presence. At the ridge once more, she paused to look behind her. The valleys were bathed in soft light now, their shadows lifting as if some great secret were being revealed. The sight filled her with both calm and curiosity. She whispered softly, "This world is young in its understanding. Perhaps it will grow as the olive grows, slow but steady." With that thought, Athena stepped into the brightness of the new day, her mind alive with questions and her spirit calm with patience. The owl perched upon her shoulder, a silent emblem of the path she was beginning. The sun rose higher, carrying her gently into the next part of her journey, where new discoveries awaited, quiet and profound. Chapter 3: The Gift of Morning. The sun rose steadily over the ridges, sending warm light across the valleys. Shadows softened, retreating into corners of rock and grove, while the air filled with gentle sounds of waking life. Athena stepped into the brightness with quiet grace, her cloak catching the light like a thread of morning itself. The owl perched upon her shoulder shifted slightly, its feathers brushing her cheek as it blinked against the growing day. She paused to breathe deeply. The scent of pine lingered in the cool air, mingled with the faint sweetness of wildflowers just opening their petals. The warmth of the sun pressed gently against her skin, steady and calm. She felt a quiet renewal within herself, as though the night's reflections had ripened into the promise of action. Not action of war or haste, but of attentive steps, of beginnings that would take root slowly, like the olive sprout pressing upward through the soil. She walked along a ridge where olive trees stood in silent clusters, their leaves shimmering silver green in the breeze. The light caught them in shifting patterns, each branch swaying like soft hands lifted to the sky. Athena reached out to touch a leaf. Its surface was smooth and cool, its underside slightly rough. She rubbed it between her fingers, listening to the faint rustle it made. In that simple sound she sensed patience, endurance, the quiet rhythm of growth that asked for no hurry. The owl tilted its head, watching her with unblinking eyes. She smiled faintly. "You see as I see," she murmured, "but you hold silence even in light. Perhaps we will learn together." As she descended from the ridge, the sound of water met her ears again. This time it was not a narrow stream, but a river broad and steady, flowing with a deep rhythm that carried the strength of mountains behind it. She followed the sound until she stood at its banks. The water gleamed with morning brightness, its surface alive with ripples that caught the sun like broken glass. She knelt to cup it in her hands, feeling its cool weight slip easily between her fingers. Her reflection looked back at her for a moment before it dissolved in the current. Gray eyes, calm yet searching. She watched them blur in the water's movement, then vanish. It reminded her that thought, too, could be like water, clear for time, then shifting, reforming, never fixed. She dipped her hands again, letting the water spill down her wrists, cool and grounding. Across the river, fields stretched wide. Farmers had already begun their morning work. Their voices carried softly through the air, low, steady tones as they guided oxen, or laughter as they worked beside one another. The smell of fresh-turned soil reached her on the breeze. She watched them for a time, her expression quiet. Their lives seemed fragile, yet filled with meaning. Each action was small, lifting, sowing, guiding, but together they created something vast. Bread for their families, growth for their children, rhythm for their villages. The owl shifted on her shoulder, as if to ask why she lingered. Athena whispered, "They shape their world with care, though they do not name it wisdom. Yet in their steady work, I see a lesson. She did not cross the river. Instead, she remained at the edge, allowing the scene to live before her eyes like a story written in the earth itself. She imagined one day stepping closer, speaking gently to those who sought guidance, but not yet. For now, she would observe, learn their rhythms, and let her thoughts grow as theirs did, slowly, with patience. As the morning deepened, Athena followed the river upstream. The ground rose, and the sound of the water changed. Where before it had been steady and calm, here it rushed over stones, tumbling with bright energy. She stopped to watch as sunlight caught the spray, scattering tiny rainbows across the air. She lifted her hand to feel the cool mist against her skin. A soft smile touched her lips. "Even in stillness, there is motion," she whispered. "And in motion, there is stillness." The owl blinked as if satisfied with her thought, then spread its wings and glided ahead. It circled a small grove further up the slope before returning to perch near her again. She followed where it had flown, curious to see what had drawn its attention. The grove was different from the others. Its trees grew in a circle, their branches arching toward one another, creating a canopy that filtered the sunlight into soft patterns across the ground. The air felt cooler here, filled with the scent of damp earth and fresh leaves. At the center, a single olive sapling had sprouted, fragile yet upright, its young leaves trembling in the breeze. Athena knelt before it, placing her hand gently at its base. The soil was soft and moist, cradling the small roots. She felt the promise within it, the slow strength it would one day hold. She whispered softly, "One day you will stretch tall, and your shade will shelter many. Patience will be your power." The owl landed quietly on a low branch above her, gazing down as though to acknowledge the moment. Athena bowed her head slightly, sensing that this grove, this sapling, was not a chance. It was a gift of the morning, a quiet sign that her path was beginning to reveal itself. She rose slowly, brushing soil from her hands, and stepped back to look at the circle of trees. Their branches swayed together as if in agreement, their leaves whispering a song she almost understood. The air seemed to hum with quiet promise, the kind that waited, patient and steady, for the right time to unfold. When she turned to leave the grove, the river's sound followed her, softer now, blending with the rustle of leaves. She felt its rhythm within her, guiding her steps back toward the higher ridges. The sun had climbed further, warming her shoulders, brightening the slopes around her. Yet her thoughts remained calm, unhurried. The day was young, and wisdom would not come all at once. At the ridge once more, she paused to look back at the valley. The fields glimmered under sunlight, the farmers still moving steadily through their work. The river shone like a silver thread winding through the land. The grove remained hidden in shadow, its secret safe. Athena's gray eyes softened as she whispered, "There is more to see, more to learn. The world carries truths, quiet and waiting." The owl gave a low, soft call, breaking its silence for the first time. The sound lingered in the air like a gentle note of agreement. Athena placed her hand over her heart, feeling its calm beat. The morning had given her a gift, a quiet certainty that her path was real, that wisdom was not distant but near, woven into every stone, leaf, and stream. The day stretched ahead of her, wide with possibility. She stepped forward, her cloak brushing lightly against the earth, the owl close by her side. The mountains opened before her like a slow unfolding scroll, each step carrying her deeper into truths not yet spoken, but already alive in the quiet rhythm of the world. Chapter 4. Whispers Among the Pines. The day had grown warmer, the sun climbing higher and casting golden light across the slopes. Athena walked with deliberate care, feeling the earth beneath her feet and letting the breeze brush against her skin. The owl remained perched lightly on her shoulder, its feathers ruffling as it shifted in the wind. Together they moved quietly, as though the land itself guided their steps. The mountains rose gently around her, pine trees standing tall like silent sentinels. Their needles rustled softly, whispering secrets to one another in a language only the wind seemed to understand. Athena lifted her hand, letting the breeze carry a few loose strands of her hair. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the soft murmurs of the forest. There was a rhythm here, steady and unbroken, and she felt her thoughts settle into it. A narrow path wound through the trees, dappled with sunlight that sifted down through the canopy. The scent of pine and warm earth filled the air, calming her mind. Each step she took seemed to awaken a tiny portion of the forest. Leaves twitched, small birds shifted in the branches, and the distant sound of a stream rippled through the shadows. Athena paused to watch a cluster of ferns swaying gently. She reached out and touched one, its fronds soft and cool under her fingertips. "Even the smallest things carry life," she whispered. The owl tilted its head and blinked slowly, as though agreeing with her thought. Athena smiled faintly and continued along the path. Her eyes caught movement ahead, a flash of gold between the trunks of the pines. She approached slowly, careful not to startle whatever creature had caught her attention. There, resting upon a rock bathed in sunlight, was a fox, its fur gleaming like polished copper. The fox lifted its head and met her gaze. Its eyes were sharp, intelligent, yet calm. Athena felt no fear, only curiosity. She knelt on the soft earth, keeping her movements deliberate and gentle. The fox watched her silently, its tail curling around its paws. In its stillness, she sensed understanding, a quiet awareness that mirrored her own. "You carry wisdom in your gaze," she whispered softly. "And patience, too." The fox blinked once, then lowered its head, settling back onto the rock. Athena let her hand hover just above it, feeling the warmth of its presence without needing to touch. The air between them was still, filled with the soft sounds of the forest, the whisper of leaves, the distant call of a bird, the faint hum of life moving unseen beneath the earth. She rose slowly, leaving the fox to its sunlit rest, and continued along the path. Soon, the forest began to thin, opening onto a small clearing where wildflowers grew in gentle clusters. Their colors were soft, pale blue, creamy white, and muted lavender, blending seamlessly with the golden grass. Athena knelt among them, brushing her fingers lightly over the petals. She felt their delicate texture, the softness of their edges, and marveled at their quiet resilience. A soft breeze carried the faint scent of honey and fresh leaves. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the aroma settle in her mind. "Everything has its place," she murmured. "Even the smallest bloom matters in the rhythm of life." She stood and noticed a small figure in the clearing, a young shepherd boy tending to a flock of sheep. He hummed a gentle tune, barely audible over the rustle of the grass. Athena observed him from the shadows of the forest edge. His movements were careful, patient, and kind. Each sheep seemed to trust him completely, following his guidance without hesitation. She felt a quiet admiration. In such simple acts, she thought, there was already a measure of wisdom. The boy glanced toward the trees and smiled faintly, though he could not see her. Athena smiled back softly, understanding that the moment was fleeting and private. She did not step forward. She simply watched, letting the morning pass with him in gentle observation. The owl flitted lightly between branches above, its wings whispering in the wind. Together, they bore witness to this small, harmonious scene. As the sun rose higher, a golden haze settled over the valley. Athena felt the warmth on her skin and the soft hum of life around her. She thought of the fox, the ferns, the wildflowers, and the shepherd boy, all carrying quiet lessons of patience, care, and attention. Her gray eyes lingered on the boy for a moment longer, then turned back toward the path that led deeper into the mountains. A cool stream ran nearby, its water rippling over smooth stones. Athena knelt to drink, letting the clear liquid flow over her lips. The stream's song was steady, calming, and continuous. She traced the water's path with her gaze, imagining where it would go, how it would nourish the land, and how it connected everything she had seen so far. The river, the fox, the boy, the trees, they were all threads in a larger tapestry of life. Rising once more, Athena walked along the bank, letting the breeze play with her hair and cloak. The owl followed closely, occasionally gliding ahead to circle back, keeping her company. Athena felt a quiet satisfaction in the day's unfolding. Each step, each small observation, carried her closer to understanding the rhythm of the world, the subtle patterns that connected beings both mortal and divine. By mid-morning, the forest gave way to a gentle rise overlooking the valley. Athena paused to take in the view, the river glinting in sunlight, fields dotted with tiny figures moving in careful order, and distant mountains rising softly into the horizon. She felt the presence of the world in a new way, not as a distant observer, but as part of the living network she had begun to understand. The owl gave a soft call, breaking the gentle hush of the morning. Athena touched her fingers to her lips, listening to the echo of its sound in the still air. She felt a thread of connection to everything she had seen so far. The wisdom she carried was not complete, but was growing, nurtured by patient observation and quiet reflection. She stepped forward, her cloak brushing lightly against the grass, and let her eyes sweep over the valley once more. Each movement, each sensation, carried meaning. Even in silence, the world spoke, and Athena listened. The path ahead seemed open and inviting, filled with possibilities both small and grand. She knew that each encounter, each quiet moment, would teach her something essential about wisdom, life, and the gentle balance that held all things together. The owl perched again on her shoulder, close and familiar. Athena closed her eyes briefly, letting the warmth of the sun and the soft rustle of wings settle into her mind. She felt ready to continue, to follow the next steps of the day's journey, knowing that each moment offered a quiet discovery waiting to be embraced. And so, with the valley stretching wide below her and the mountains ahead, Athena walked onward, guided by patience, observation, and the soft whisper of curiosity that stirred within her. The morning had given her lessons, subtle and profound, and she stepped forward with calm certainty, ready to meet whatever quiet wonders awaited around the next bend. Chapter 5: The Hidden Grove. Athena continued along the gentle slopes, the owl perched steadily on her shoulder. The air was warm now, carrying the faint scent of wild herbs and the sweetness of distant blooms. Each step she took pressed softly against the earth, and she felt its texture shift beneath her sandals, from smooth stone to loose soil, then patches of soft grass. Every variation seemed deliberate, a subtle lesson written into the landscape itself. As she walked, a change came over the forest. The pines grew taller, their trunks straighter, their needles forming a thicker canopy. Light filtered down in soft, mottled patterns, creating moving mosaics on the ground. The forest floor smelled richer here, damp with moss and fallen leaves, faintly earthy yet fragrant with hints of hidden flowers. Athena inhaled slowly, feeling the depth of life surrounding her. The owl gave a soft call, lifting slightly into the air, then landing on a branch ahead. Athena followed its motion and discovered a narrow path curling between two large oaks. The path was almost hidden, its stones covered with moss, yet it seemed to invite her forward. She stepped onto it carefully, the soft crunch of leaves and twigs beneath her feet blending with a murmur of wind through the branches. A gentle sense of anticipation filled her. She did not know what she would find, but there was no fear, only curiosity, steady and patient. Each step carried her further into the forest, deeper into the secrets that whispered among the trees. Small sounds reached her ears, a distant bird call, the rustle of a squirrel in the branches, the faint trickle of water somewhere unseen. They were quiet, subtle, yet together they formed a melody that guided her forward. Soon, the path opened into a hidden grove. Sunlight streamed through a break in the canopy, illuminating a small circle of trees whose trunks curved inward as if protecting the space within. The ground was soft and springy, covered with thick moss and tiny flowers. White, pale blue, and lavender bloomed in gentle clusters along the edges. Athena knelt to touch the moss. It was cool, yielding beneath her fingers, yet firm, carrying the slow strength of centuries. In the center of the grove, a small pool reflected the sunlight, its surface still and clear. She approached it and gazed into her reflection. The gray of her eyes met her own, steady and calm, yet alive with thought. She noticed the way the sun glinted off her hair, the faint warmth of the day brushing her cheeks. It was a moment both simple and profound, a quiet recognition of herself within the living world. The owl circled once above the pool, then settled on a nearby branch. Its quiet presence reminded her that wisdom often comes with companions who share understanding, even without words. Athena smiled softly. "You watch with me," she whispered, "and in silence you teach me more than any lesson spoken." She knelt by the pool, letting her hands skim the water's surface. Ripples formed, spreading outward in soft waves, disturbing her reflection for a moment before it settled again. In that gentle motion, she saw a metaphor for thought itself, always shifting, yet maintaining its essence. She rested her palms in the cool water and closed her eyes, listening to the subtle sounds of the grove. The rustle of leaves, the faint hum of insects, the distant song of a bird, it all felt interconnected, each note part of a larger whole. A soft breeze stirred, carrying the fragrance of the surrounding flowers. Athena inhaled slowly, savoring the subtle sweetness. She could feel the rhythm of life pulsing beneath her, a quiet, steady heartbeat that connected stone, tree, water, and winged creatures alike. It was as though the grove itself breathed around her, patient and eternal. For a time, she remained there, letting her thoughts drift with the wind and ripple with the pool. The lessons of the morning, of ferns, foxes, shepherds, and rivers, mingled with the new experiences of this hidden grove. She realized that wisdom was not a single gift, but a series of careful observations, reflections, and quiet understandings. Each moment, no matter how small, added to the growing depth within her. The owl gave a gentle flap of its wings, shifting to a lower branch. Athena followed its gaze and saw a small figure emerge at the edge of the grove, a young woman carrying a basket of herbs. Her movements were slow, deliberate, almost ritualistic. She hummed softly, tending to the plants with careful hands. Athena felt no disturbance, only curiosity. She observed quietly, noting the woman's patience, the gentle attention she gave each leaf and flower. The young woman paused, lifting a small bloom to inhale its fragrance. Athena smiled softly, recognizing herself in that quiet attentiveness. She could feel the kinship of purpose, a subtle thread connecting them, though they had not spoken. The owl shifted again, brushing softly against Athena's shoulder, a reminder that these small moments of understanding were part of a larger, unfolding tapestry. Athena turned back to the pool and knelt once more, letting the water slip through her fingers. Ripples formed again, spreading outward, touching every edge of the small pool, as if echoing the quiet connection she had observed. She whispered, "Patience and care. This is the rhythm of life. And in it there is wisdom." The sun climbed higher, casting warmer light through the canopy, and Athena felt the day stretching around her. The grove was a hidden sanctuary, a place where thought could grow undisturbed, where observation itself became a lesson. She rose slowly, brushing her hands lightly over the moss, leaving no trace but her awareness. As she stepped back onto the path, the young woman at the edge of the grove turned and smiled faintly, as if sensing the presence of another attentive soul. Athena returned the smile and continued along the winding trail, feeling a gentle certainty that each step would bring new understanding, new insights hidden in quiet corners of the world. The owl flapped lightly above her, circling once before settling on her shoulder. Athena breathed deeply, the warmth of the day and the calm of the grove settling into her mind. She felt ready to continue, to follow the next bend in the path, knowing that wisdom often arrived softly, in small, patient moments. And so she moved onward, deeper into the mountains, guided by careful observation, gentle curiosity, and the quiet whispers of life surrounding her. The hidden grove remained behind, a secret sanctuary waiting for those willing to listen. Athena carried its lessons within her, stepping forward with calm certainty, ready to meet whatever subtle wonders awaited just beyond the next ridge. Chapter 6. The Soft Glow of Guidance. The mountains grew steeper as Athena continued her path, though the incline was gentle enough to let her pace remain unhurried. The sunlight fell through the trees in long, slanting beams, illuminating the moss and the rocks in warm, golden streaks. Each step pressed softly into the earth, carrying a rhythm of thought and reflection, a quiet awareness of life all around her. The owl stirred on her shoulder, blinking slowly, as if reading the patterns of movement in the wind. Athena tilted her head slightly, feeling the comfort of its presence. "We walk together," she whispered, "and in our stillness the world becomes clear." Ahead, a small grove opened unexpectedly, marked by the soft sparkle of dew on the leaves. The air was cooler here, carrying the faint scent of jasmine and pine mingled together. Athena paused at the edge of the grove, letting the gentle fragrance fill her senses. She closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the quiet pulse of life within the trees, the grass, and the soft soil beneath her feet. As she stepped inside, a subtle movement caught her attention. A faint shimmer of light floated above the highest branches of a willow at the center of the grove. Athena's gray eyes narrowed slightly, studying it with calm curiosity. The shimmer grew into the gentle form of a small, radiant figure, a nymph, delicate and serene, her hair glowing faintly in the morning sun. The nymph's eyes met Athena's, calm and knowing, yet curious as well. She tilted her head and smiled, her presence quiet yet deeply noticeable. Athena stepped forward slowly, letting her awareness absorb the delicate nuances of this new being. Every movement of the nymph was fluid and precise, like water flowing over rocks. Her fingers brushed the leaves of the willow with careful attention, and the tree responded as if it understood the gentleness of her touch. "You are attentive," the nymph whispered, her voice soft, blending with the rustle of leaves. "You notice the smallest things and see what others overlook." Athena inclined her head in acknowledgement. "Observation is the first step," she murmured, "and patience allows understanding to grow." The nymph nodded slightly and stepped closer to the pool at the base of the willow. Its surface reflected both of them, shimmering softly as the light danced upon it. Athena knelt by the pool, her hands skimming the water in quiet thought. She could feel the nymph's presence as a soft energy, a subtle glow that did not demand attention but invited reflection. The owl shifted on her shoulder, brushing lightly against her neck. Athena smiled faintly. "Even companions see differently," she said. "Together, we understand more fully." The nymph reached into the water and let it flow through her fingers, creating gentle ripples. Athena watched the movement carefully, noticing the delicate rhythm of cause and effect, the water responding to the slightest touch, yet remaining calm and constant. She reached forward and mirrored the motion, letting the water slip between her own fingers. For a moment, their movements intertwined, subtle yet synchronized, each learning from the other without words. "You walk quietly," the nymph said, "yet your presence changes the spaces you enter. The land responds to care, attention, and respect. These are gifts as important as strength." Athena considered the words. She had seen this in the fox, in the shepherd boy, and in the hidden grove itself. Every being, every element of the world, carried its own lesson, waiting for recognition. She felt the first thread of connection deepen, understanding that wisdom was not simply knowledge, but the attentive presence within life itself. The nymph gestured toward the surrounding trees, their leaves trembling in the soft morning breeze. "Do you see how each leaf turns toward the light? How does every branch stretch in balance? So too must thought align with action, gentle but purposeful." Athena nodded, letting her gaze trace the movement of branches and leaves. She sensed the truth in the observation, not as instruction, but as reflection, arising naturally from what she already knew. She whispered, "Patience and balance. Observation and care." The owl gave a low, soft call, as if affirming the harmony in her thoughts. Athena felt a warmth in her chest, quiet and steady, a calm certainty that she was beginning to understand the rhythm that underpinned all life. The nymph smiled, her form radiating subtle light, then drifted higher into the branches, blending with the shimmer of morning sun until she seemed part of the grove itself. Athena remained kneeling by the pool for a long moment, feeling the calm energy that lingered after the nymph's departure. She traced her fingers over the water once more, watching ripples spread outward, connecting every edge. She realized that each encounter, each quiet observation, was like the movement of water, soft, flowing, and infinitely patient. Rising slowly, Athena brushed her hands over her robe and looked around the grove. The trees swayed gently, the air hummed softly, and the pool reflected the sunlight in a serene, steady glow. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lesson the nymph had offered, not in words alone, but in presence, in the quiet demonstration of attention and care. The path before her stretched upward, winding along the mountainside. Athena stepped forward, the owl gliding briefly ahead and then returning to perch lightly on her shoulder. The warmth of the day and the subtle fragrance of the grove lingered in her senses, calming her mind and sharpening her awareness. Every step carried her forward, deeper into the mountain's heart, where new discoveries awaited, subtle and profound. She thought of the morning, of the river, the hidden grove, the fox, the shepherd boy, and now the nymph. Each encounter was like a note in a soft melody, each observation a thread in the tapestry of wisdom she was beginning to weave. Her gray eyes reflected the sunlight as she looked toward the ridge ahead, feeling the pull of curiosity, the gentle urge to explore what lay just beyond her sight. The owl gave a soft, steady call, and Athena smiled faintly. "The path continues," she whispered, "and each moment is a teacher." With calm certainty, she walked onward, the mountains opening before her like a slow, unfolding scroll. The lessons of patience, attention, and quiet observation followed her, threading through each step, each breath, each ripple of the air. The day stretched ahead, full of gentle promise, carrying her into the next chapter of discovery, where even subtler truths awaited in the quiet heart of the world. Chapter 7. The Murmuring Stones. Athena's steps carried her higher into the mountains, where the air felt cooler and the scent of pine mingled with the faint aroma of wet stone. The owl perched quietly on her shoulder, occasionally gliding a few feet ahead before returning, as if guiding her attention to subtle details in the landscape. Every movement was deliberate, yet unhurried, each step part of a rhythm she was beginning to recognize. The path narrowed, winding between jagged rocks that glimmered faintly in the morning sun. Small tufts of grass and delicate wildflowers had found purchase in the crevices, their roots clinging with patient persistence. Athena knelt to touch one of the blooms, feeling the tender softness of its petals and the firmness of its stem. She whispered softly, "Strength grows quietly, even in the most hidden places." As she straightened, a faint sound reached her ears, a murmur subtle and low, like wind moving through tiny cracks in the rocks. Athena paused, tilting her head to listen more closely. The murmur was not wind alone. It carried a rhythm, a subtle pulse that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the mountains themselves. She stepped closer to a cluster of smooth stones, placing her palm upon one. The surface was cool and slightly damp beneath her fingers. She closed her eyes, allowing the murmuring sound to fill her senses. It was as though the stone itself was alive, whispering secrets too gentle to be spoken aloud. Athena felt a soft thrill of understanding. Wisdom was hidden in places often overlooked, waiting for those patient enough to notice. The owl ruffled its feathers softly, its presence grounding her in the quiet. Athena smiled faintly. "Even the smallest companions carry insight," she murmured. "Each being has its own way of sharing truth." She traced the edges of the stones with her fingers, noting the subtle grooves and textures. Each mark told a story, the result of wind, rain, and time's unhurried passage. The murmur continued, ebbing and flowing with the breeze. Athena let her thoughts drift with it, sensing a connection between the movement of the elements and the patterns of life she had observed in the valleys below. A small stream trickled nearby, its water weaving between the rocks with gentle persistence. Athena followed its path, kneeling to touch the clear, cool liquid as it slipped through her fingers. The murmuring of the stones blended with the soft sound of flowing water, creating a quiet symphony. She whispered, "All things speak if only one listens with care." Her gaze lifted to the peaks above, where sunlight glimmered on cragged edges. She imagined the stones and streams as teachers, each conveying lessons through subtle means, through persistence, patience, and gentle influence. The owl shifted, perching on a higher rock to observe, its eyes steady and calm. Athena watched it, sensing that the smallest gestures could carry profound meaning. Continuing along the path, she noticed faint carvings on some of the stones, symbols etched long ago, softened by time. They were simple lines and curves, yet their presence suggested deliberate care. Athena traced them with her fingertips, feeling the depth of their origin, the intention behind each mark. It was as though those who had carved them had understood the same quiet truths she now began to see. That wisdom is patient, attentive, and woven into the fabric of the world. The owl gave a soft call, breaking the hush of the morning, and Athena looked up. Across the valley, she saw a distant ridge where sunlight caught a small grove of trees, their leaves trembling with a gentle wind. She felt a tug of curiosity, a subtle pull toward that place. Perhaps there, she thought, she would discover another lesson waiting quietly, hidden yet open to the observant mind. As she moved toward the ridge, the murmuring stones seemed to follow her, or perhaps she carried their rhythm within her. Each step was measured, her awareness heightened by the gentle sound around her. The scent of wet stone mingled with pine and the faint aroma of distant blooms, creating a subtle tapestry of sensations that grounded her in the present moment. She paused at a bend where the stones formed a natural arch, sunlight glinting through the opening. Beneath it, the path continued, leading deeper into the mountains. Athena knelt for a moment, resting her hand on the cool stone of the arch. She felt the solidity beneath her palm, the slow endurance of the mountain, and the quiet strength that comes from years of patient growth. Rising, she stepped through the arch and found herself in a small plateau overlooking the valley below. The view was breathtaking, not in grandeur or drama, but in its quiet, persistent beauty. Fields stretched like patchwork, rivers glimmered in the sunlight, and distant trees swayed gently in the morning breeze. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the sights, sounds, and scents wash over her. She thought of the fox, the shepherd boy, the hidden grove, and the nymph. Each had offered a lesson, a thread in the tapestry she was beginning to weave. The murmuring stones now added their own subtle voice, reminding her that wisdom is present even in stillness, in forms often overlooked. She closed her eyes briefly, listening to the blend of sounds, the wind, the water, the faint murmur of stone, and felt the gentle certainty growing within her. The owl flapped lightly, circling above before returning to perch on her shoulder. Athena smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. She whispered softly, "The world is patient, and so must I be." Each step carries learning, even when it is quiet. The morning stretched on, the sun climbing higher, bathing the plateau in warmth. Athena took a deep breath, feeling the calm strength of the mountains beneath her feet, the murmuring of stones in her mind, and the steady presence of the owl by her side. She knew that every step forward would continue to reveal subtle truths, each one adding to the quiet wisdom growing within her. With calm certainty, she began to descend the plateau, moving toward the next ridge and the hidden groves beyond. The murmuring stones had spoken their lessons, and she carried them with her, aware that each soft observation, each quiet moment of reflection, was shaping her understanding in ways both gentle and profound. The mountains stretched ahead, open and inviting, and Athena walked onward, guided by patience, careful observation, and the soft rhythm of life surrounding her. Each step, each sound, each subtle whisper of the world would teach her more, carrying her forward into the next chapter of quiet discovery. Chapter 8. The Song of the Wind. The afternoon sun cast a gentle warmth across the mountains, softening the rough edges of rock and moss. Athena walked steadily, each step deliberate, her sandals pressing lightly into the soft soil. The owl perched on her shoulder, occasionally gliding above the treetops before returning, its wings stirring the air in delicate waves. A gentle wind rose from the valley below, carrying with it the scents of wildflowers, pine, and distant herbs. Athena paused, closing her eyes to feel the subtle touch of the breeze on her skin. It whispered softly, threading through her hair and along her arms. She breathed slowly, letting the wind's rhythm fill her senses. In its motion, she felt something almost like speech, soft, melodic, yet elusive. The path wound through a grove of tall, slender trees whose trunks were pale and smooth, their branches arching overhead. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, scattering patches of gold and green across the forest floor. Athena moved quietly, mindful of the gentle crunch of leaves beneath her feet, the soft hum of life surrounding her. She stopped at a bend where the wind seemed to gather, circling in a subtle spiral among the trees. Athena leaned forward slightly, listening intently. The sound was more than just the rustling of leaves. It carried a tone, a delicate harmony that stirred something deep within her. She could not name it, could not catch it fully, yet she understood its presence. It was as if the wind itself was singing, offering quiet guidance and gentle lessons. The owl shifted, blinking slowly, its gaze following the movement of the air. Athena smiled faintly. Even the smallest currents carry wisdom, she murmured. And the world speaks in many voices if one listens. A small stream ran nearby, its water weaving through stones in soft murmurs. Athena knelt to touch it, feeling its coolness slip through her fingers. The water's gentle flow blended with the song of the wind, creating a quiet symphony that filled the grove. She let her hands linger, tracing patterns in the surface, watching ripples spread outward like tiny messages carried across the pool. The wind moved more insistently now, brushing lightly against her cheek. Athena followed its direction, stepping carefully over roots and stones. Ahead, the grove opened onto a plateau where sunlight shone unobstructed. Wildflowers nodded in the breeze, their petals trembling like tiny instruments in the wind's gentle song. She knelt among them, brushing her fingers over their delicate petals, feeling their softness and resilience. The owl glided above, then landed lightly on a branch near her. Athena looked up, noticing how its feathers caught the sunlight, revealing subtle shades of gray and brown. Its eyes followed the motion of the wind, attentive and still. She felt a quiet kinship with the creature. Both observers, both learning in patience and silence. A sudden sparkle caught her attention, a faint glimmer on a stone nearby. Athena approached and knelt, brushing moss away to reveal a small crystal embedded in the rock. The sunlight struck it just right, sending tiny beams across the ground. She reached out, letting her fingers rest lightly on its surface. The crystal was smooth, cool, and firm, yet it seemed to hum softly under her touch. "You are like the wind," she whispered. Quiet, subtle, carrying messages that few notice, yet always present. The owl gave a low call, and Athena felt the harmony of the moment deepen. The wind stirred again, lifting her hair and the hem of her cloak, and she listened to the patterns it created among the stones and trees. She realized that even in silence, the world was filled with gentle guidance, hidden rhythms, and subtle lessons waiting for those willing to observe. Athena rose slowly, brushing her hands over her robe. She took a deep breath, letting the scents and sounds of the grove settle in her mind. The sunlight warmed her shoulders, and the plateau stretched open before her, revealing distant peaks bathed in soft, golden light. She felt a gentle certainty growing within her, the knowledge that patience, attention, and quiet reflection were the keys to understanding the world's hidden wisdom. The wind carried faint whispers of movement ahead. Athena followed its subtle guidance, moving along the edge of the plateau where wildflowers bowed and grasses swayed. Each step was deliberate, each sensation noted. She felt the pull of curiosity, the soft call of discovery, without haste or urgency. The owl shifted, wings brushing lightly against her shoulder, as if encouraging her to continue. Ahead, she noticed a shallow depression in the ground where water had pooled from the morning dew. Tiny insects danced across the surface, their delicate movements creating patterns that mirrored the wind's song. Athena knelt once more, letting her fingers trace gentle arcs in the water. The ripples spread, interacting with the insects' paths, creating a small, living mosaic. She smiled softly, marveling at the subtle complexity of life that went unnoticed by most. "Even the smallest beings have their place," she whispered, "and their actions contribute to the harmony of all things." The owl blinked slowly, settling back on her shoulder. Athena stood, taking one last look at the plateau. The wind continued its song, a quiet, persistent melody that seemed to echo the lessons she had learned in the hidden groves, the murmuring stones, and the flowing streams. Each encounter had woven a thread in the tapestry of wisdom she was beginning to carry, soft yet profound. She stepped forward along the ridge, the sun climbing higher, casting warm light across the mountains. The path narrowed again, winding into shadows cast by towering cliffs. Athena's steps remained calm and measured, each one attentive to the textures beneath her feet, the smoothness of rock, the roughness of bark, the soft spring of moss. The wind followed her, weaving between the trees, carrying with it the quiet lessons of observation, patience, and gentle awareness. With the plateau behind her, Athena felt a subtle anticipation of the moments to come. She knew that the day held more discoveries, more quiet teachers hidden in the folds of the mountains, waiting to share their guidance. The owl gave a soft, approving call, and Athena smiled, feeling the steady rhythm of the world pulse in tandem with her own calm, deliberate steps. And so she moved onward, deeper into the mountains, guided by the song of the wind, the gentle hum of life, and the quiet certainty that each step forward revealed another layer of wisdom waiting to be discovered. The afternoon stretched before her, full of soft promise, carrying Athena into the next chapter of her journey, where even subtler truths awaited in the hidden heart of the world. Chapter 9: The Silent Grove. The wind carried Athena along the ridge, soft and persistent, brushing the loose strands of her hair against her cheeks. The mountains stretched endlessly around her, their slopes dappled with sunlight and shadow. Every rock, every tuft of grass, every distant bird call seemed alive with a gentle rhythm she was learning to hear. The owl perched lightly on her shoulder, quiet and steady, its eyes reflecting her own calm awareness. As she descended slightly into a shaded hollow, the air grew cooler and richer with the scent of damp earth. Moss covered the stones, soft and velvety underfoot, and the faint trickle of water echoed from a small stream weaving through the grove. Athena's steps were careful, her senses alert yet unhurried, as she observed the interplay of light and shadow, the way the branches swayed and the water whispered over the stones. The hollow opened into a small grove, circular in shape, the trees forming a natural barrier that softened the sounds of the outside world. Sunlight filtered in through the canopy, scattering golden patches on the mossy ground. Tiny flowers clung to the edges, their petals trembling gently in the breeze. Athena knelt to touch them, feeling their delicate texture, and noticed how they grew in clusters, supporting one another without need for attention. She thought of this as a lesson in quiet cooperation, a harmony that existed without ceremony or announcement. A faint rustle of leaves drew her gaze upward. High in the branches of an old oak, a small bird watched her with attentive eyes. Its feathers were soft, shades of muted brown and cream. Its movements were slow and deliberate. Athena smiled softly. "Even you, little one, carry wisdom," she whispered. "Your watchfulness reminds me that understanding often comes in quiet observation." The owl stirred lightly on her shoulder, giving a low, approving call. Athena bent closer to the stream, letting her hands slip into the cool water. She felt the gentle current flow around her fingers, each ripple carrying a soft lesson in patience and persistence. The murmuring of the water blended seamlessly with the subtle creak of the trees and the faint hum of life in the soil. It was a symphony of small, interconnected movements, and she realized that each element of the grove participated in a quiet, ongoing dialogue. As she looked up, Athena noticed the sunlight catching on tiny dew droplets suspended from the branches. They sparkled like miniature stars, each one reflecting the world in its delicate sphere. She reached out, careful not to disturb them, and felt a soft thrill of wonder. "Even the smallest reflections hold entire worlds," she murmured. The owl blinked slowly, as if to confirm her observation. Athena rose and moved further into the grove. She found a small clearing where the moss was thick and soft, forming a natural cushion on the ground. Sitting quietly, she allowed herself to breathe fully, feeling the pulse of life around her. The breeze whispered gently, weaving through the branches and carrying with it the faint scent of distant flowers and herbs. Athena closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the subtleties of sound, the rustle of leaves, the soft trickle of water, the gentle call of a bird somewhere above. In the quiet, a sense of timelessness enveloped her. She thought of the morning river, the hidden grove, the murmuring stones, and the song of the wind. Each encounter had been a thread, weaving a larger tapestry of understanding. Here, in this silent grove, she felt the threads entwining, forming patterns she could sense but not yet fully articulate. Her gray eyes softened with awareness. The owl gave a soft flap of wings, and Athena noticed a small cluster of wild herbs at the edge of the clearing. Their leaves shimmered in the sunlight, tiny flowers nodding as if in greeting. She knelt beside them, brushing her fingers over the delicate textures. She felt the subtle strength in their resilience, the quiet way they reached for the light. It was another lesson, simple yet profound, in persistence and attentiveness. A faint sound drew her gaze to the other side of the grove. A young deer stepped lightly among the trees, moving with gentle grace, pausing to nibble at tender shoots. Its presence was calm, unassuming, yet it carried an elegance that seemed deliberate and measured. Athena watched silently, noting the rhythm of its steps, the soft rustle of its hooves against the moss. The deer glanced toward her for a brief moment, then continued its quiet foraging, leaving her with the impression of dignity woven into gentleness. Athena felt a deep connection in that moment, the quiet understanding that life, in all its forms, shared subtle wisdom if only one paid attention. She rose slowly, letting the soft earth spring back under her feet. The owl gave another approving call, settling once more on her shoulder. Athena's gaze swept across the grove, taking in every detail. The moss, the water, the birds, the deer, the sunlight filtering through branches. She felt the harmony of it all settle into her mind, quiet yet profound. She stepped toward the edge of the grove, where the path led onward, winding along the mountainside. The sunlight caught on the rocks, illuminating tiny veins of mica that shimmered faintly, and she bent to touch one. Its cool surface contrasted with the warmth of the sun, and she marveled at the way the simplest forms held subtle beauty. The wind stirred again, lifting her hair and brushing the hem of her robe. Athena closed her eyes, letting the breeze carry her thoughts and reflections. Each sensation, each observation, seemed connected to the ones before, threads a tapestry of soft understanding that guided her gently forward. She realized that wisdom was not found only in grand gestures or dramatic moments, but in the quiet attentiveness to life unfolding around her. With careful steps, she left the grove, carrying its lessons within her. The owl flapped lightly, circling above before returning to perch on her shoulder. Athena looked toward the ridge ahead, feeling a subtle anticipation. She knew that the mountains still held hidden wonders, quiet teachers waiting to share their truths with those patient enough to observe. The afternoon stretched on, filled with the gentle sounds of wind, water, and life. Athena walked onward, each step deliberate, each breath attentive. She felt the soft pulse of wisdom in the earth beneath her feet and in the air that touched her skin. The grove remained behind, a sanctuary of stillness and reflection, yet its lessons continued to guide her as she moved toward the next discovery in her journey. And so she stepped forward, deeper into the mountains, guided by patience, observation, and the quiet harmony of the world. Every leaf, every stone, every gentle movement carried meaning, and Athena embraced the unfolding journey, ready to encounter the next layer of subtle truths waiting just beyond the next rise. Chapter 10: The Light Among the Pines. The path wound upward, gentle yet persistent, carrying Athena deeper into the mountain slopes. The sunlight shifted slowly, casting long shadows across the moss-covered rocks and the tufts of wild grass. Every step felt purposeful, yet unhurried, and she noticed the soft textures beneath her sandals, the firmness of stone, the give of earth, and the occasional rustle of dry pine needles. The owl perched quietly on her shoulder, eyes steady, wings occasionally fluttering in the soft breeze. Athena lifted her hand to feel the air brushing past, a subtle cooling against her skin. The wind carried distant scents of pine resin and wildflowers, blending into a fragrance that calmed her mind and heightened her awareness. Ahead, she noticed a slender shaft of sunlight piercing the canopy, illuminating a small cluster of pines. Their trunks were straight and graceful, their needles catching the light in delicate, shimmering patterns. Athena slowed her steps, captivated by the gentle glow. The way the light moved over the branches, shifting with the breeze, created a soft, almost musical interplay of shadow and brightness. She knelt beneath the trees, brushing her fingers along the textured bark, feeling the subtle grooves and ridges. The sunlight warmed her hands, and she closed her eyes for a moment, letting the quiet energy of the forest seep into her senses. In the dappled light, she felt a sense of guidance, not spoken, not forced, but present in the gentle, persistent rhythm of life surrounding her. The owl tilted its head, observing her silently. Athena smiled faintly. "Even without words, you understand," she whispered. "And the world speaks to those who pause to listen." As she rose, a soft glimmer caught her eye among the roots of the pines. Athena approached carefully and discovered a small crystal nestled in a bed of moss. The sunlight struck it just right, scattering tiny prisms of color across the forest floor. She knelt beside it, letting her fingers rest lightly on its smooth, cool surface. There was a subtle vibration, almost imperceptible, but enough to make her aware of its presence. "You hold the light quietly," she murmured. not for show, but as a reflection of patience and care. The owl ruffled its feathers, giving a soft, approving call. Athena traced the edges of the crystal, noticing how it caught the light and amplified it in subtle ways. It reminded her of the hidden patterns in nature, the gentle lessons she had learned from streams, stones, groves, and even the smallest creatures along her path. A breeze lifted her hair and the hem of her cloak, and Athena followed its direction to a nearby slope where the trees opened slightly. The sunlight spilled across a small clearing, revealing a shallow pool fed by a trickle of water running down the mountainside. She knelt beside it, letting her hands touch the cool surface, feeling the steady flow of water over smooth stones. The ripple of the stream merged with the light falling through the pines, creating a subtle symphony of movement and glow. Athena's thoughts drifted gently as she observed the interplay. She remembered the lessons of the hidden grove, the murmuring stones, the song of the wind, and the silent grove. Each encounter had offered guidance, and now she realized that the light itself could teach patience and attentiveness. Even a small beam, reflected and refracted, could illuminate hidden truths if one noticed it carefully. The owl gave a soft flap of wings, shifting to a branch nearby. Athena watched its movements, appreciating the quiet attentiveness it carried in every gesture. She rose slowly, letting the warmth of sunlight settle on her shoulders. Her gaze swept across the mountainside, taking in the rhythm of light and shadow, the gentle sway of branches, and the soft rustle of the moss underfoot. A distant sound caught her attention, a faint trill of a bird singing from the upper branches. Its song was soft, intricate, and almost imperceptible at first, yet Athena found herself leaning closer to listen. Each note carried subtle changes, patterns that were repeated and altered in delicate sequences. She closed her eyes, letting the melody settle in her mind. The owl's quiet presence beside her emphasized the stillness of the moment, allowing her to focus fully on the delicate music of life around her. Athena knelt again by the pool, reflecting in the sunlight. Even the smallest voices, she whispered, carry meaning. Even the quietest light can reveal what is hidden. She let the words linger, absorbing the lesson without haste, feeling it deepen into her understanding. The afternoon sunlight began to shift, casting longer beams across the forest floor. Athena noticed the way shadows lengthened, stretching softly over the moss and rocks. She followed the path of light, letting it guide her through the pines. Every step was deliberate, every movement mindful, and she felt a calm certainty growing within her. The lessons of observation, patience, and gentle awareness were weaving together, forming a quiet tapestry of wisdom she could feel but not yet fully articulate. A small rustle among the roots drew her gaze. She saw a rabbit, delicate and cautious, hopping lightly through the clearing. Its movements were precise, its attention alert, yet it carried a natural calm that spoke of harmony with its surroundings. Athena watched silently, feeling the quiet dignity of its presence. The owl blinked slowly, as if acknowledging the small creature's role in the lessons of the day. Athena rose, brushing her hands gently over her robe, and stepped toward the next bend in the path. The mountains stretched before her, open and inviting, the light shifting softly among the pines. She felt the pull of curiosity, the gentle anticipation of discovering new subtleties in the forest's rhythm. Every leaf, every ray of light, every small creature was a teacher, and she walked with careful attention, ready to absorb the lessons offered in quiet, patient moments. The owl stirred lightly, settling once more on her shoulder. Athena smiled faintly, feeling the steady pulse of life in the mountains around her. She knew that the journey would continue, and each step would bring new insights, soft, profound, and often imperceptible at first glance. And so, with sunlight warming her back and the soft melody of the forest guiding her, Athena moved forward. The mountains held gentle secrets, subtle wonders hidden in the interplay of light, shadow, and life. She walked onward, carrying the quiet wisdom of observation and patience with her, ready to meet the next layer of subtle truths waiting just beyond the next rise. Chapter 11: The Whispering Leaves. Athena continued along the mountain path, the forest around her alive with soft sounds. Each step pressed lightly into the earth, and the faint crunch of fallen pine needles beneath her sandals reminded her of the slow, deliberate rhythm of the world. The owl perched on her shoulder, steady and observant, wings tucked close, eyes following the subtle shifts in light and movement around them. The canopy above shifted gently as a breeze passed through, rustling the leaves in a quiet, deliberate murmur. Athena paused, tilting her head to catch the melody of the trees. It was not a song in the ordinary sense, but a pattern of movement and sound that carried subtle wisdom. She noticed how each leaf trembled and bent, responding to the wind yet remaining part of the branch, part of the larger whole. She knelt to touch the soft moss carpeting the forest floor, feeling its cool, damp texture beneath her fingers. Tiny sprouts of wildflowers peeked through, their colors muted yet vivid under the filtered sunlight. Athena observed them carefully, noting how each plant reached for the light, stretching and bending without haste, adjusting to the conditions around it with quiet patience. The owl ruffled its feathers, giving a low call. Athena smiled softly. "Everything teaches if we are willing to listen," she whispered. Even in silence, life carries guidance. A subtle shift in the breeze brought her attention to a cluster of silver-leaved trees at the edge of the path. Their branches swayed in intricate patterns, reflecting sunlight in fleeting glimmers. Athena approached, letting her fingers trace the contours of the bark, feeling the gentle grooves etched by years of growth. She noticed the tiny flickers of light moving through the leaves, like a hidden language written in shadow and shine. The forest seemed to lean closer, as though inviting her to perceive its quiet messages. Athena closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling the scent of pine, earth, and distant flowers. The wind brushed her hair gently, and she felt it carry a rhythm, a pattern in the movement of branches and leaves, subtle yet undeniable. It was as if the forest itself was speaking, not with words, but with motion, light, and scent. The owl shifted slightly, its talons brushing lightly against her robe. Athena opened her eyes and followed its gaze to a small hollow beneath the roots of one of the silver-leaved trees. Within it, a tiny stream trickled, its water sparkling faintly in the sunlight. She knelt beside it, dipping her fingers into the cool liquid. The stream flowed gently, its rhythm unhurried, carrying tiny ripples that reflected the glimmers of light above. She marveled at the harmony around her, the interplay of wind, light, and water creating a subtle symphony. Each element seemed to respond to the others, moving in careful balance, neither forcing nor resisting, simply existing in quiet understanding. Athena felt her own breath slow to match the rhythm, a steadying awareness grounding her in the moment. A soft movement drew her gaze upward. High in the branches, a small bird alighted, its feathers catching the sunlight, creating tiny flashes of gold and brown. It observed her with quiet attention, tilting its head, wings tucked neatly at its sides. Athena watched silently, noting the precision in its balance, the patience in its gaze. "Even in stillness, there is learning," she whispered. The breeze intensified slightly, carrying with it a subtle fragrance, distant herbs, pine, and something she could not name. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the scent mingle with the sights and sound around her. It reminded her of the hidden groves she had visited, the murmuring stones, the gentle songs of the wind, and the shimmering light among the pines. Each memory layered upon the present, creating a continuum of quiet lessons. Athena rose slowly, brushing her hands over her robe. She felt the soft pulse of life beneath her feet and around her. The owl blinked slowly, returning its gaze to the path ahead. She followed, moving with deliberate care, attuned to every subtle sound and movement. Her eyes caught the interplay of sunlight and shadow, the tiny ripples in the stream, and the swaying of branches in harmony with the breeze. The path led to a small clearing, where sunlight fell in warm beams across the forest floor. Athena knelt in the center, letting her hands rest lightly on the moss. She closed her eyes again, listening to the whispers of the leaves, the trickle of the stream, and the soft rustle of distant branches. Each sound carried meaning. Each movement reflected a quiet, deliberate balance. She felt a profound calm settle into her mind and heart, a gentle certainty that every moment of attention, every observation, was part of the subtle weaving of wisdom she had been gathering along her journey. A faint glimmer of movement caught her attention. At the edge of the clearing, a small fox emerged from the underbrush, its coat shining softly in the filtered sunlight. It paused, ears attentive, eyes bright yet calm. Athena watched it carefully, noting the elegance in its movements, the careful, measured way it navigated the moss and stones. The fox lifted its head, sniffing the air, and then continued along a narrow path that seemed almost invisible among the roots and rocks. Athena smiled softly. Even the smallest travelers leave subtle marks on the world, she whispered. And in observing them, I learned patience and presence. The owl gave a soft call, and Athena felt the pulse of the forest harmonize with her own breath. She rose, following the faint trail the fox had left, aware of the continuing lessons embedded in every leaf, every stone, every rustle of wind. The sunlight shifted as the day advanced, casting longer shadows and warming the forest in soft golden light. With each step, Athena felt her understanding deepen. She knew that the world held layers of subtle guidance, hidden in movement, in scent, in light, and in the smallest creatures. The whispers of the leaves, the glimmers of sunlight, and the gentle presence of the owl and the fox were all part of a quiet, unfolding wisdom that would continue to guide her in ways both gentle and profound. And so she moved onward, through the forest, along the winding path, guided by observation, patience, and the soft, whispering presence of life all around her. Each step carried her deeper into the mountains, toward discoveries waiting quietly, softly, and patiently for those who would notice. Chapter 12: The Silver Stream. Athena followed the winding mountain path, her senses attuned to every subtle shift in the forest. The sunlight moved lazily through the canopy, creating patterns of gold and green that danced across mossy stones and fallen leaves. Each step she took was careful yet unhurried, her sandals pressing softly into the soil. The owl perched quietly on her shoulder, eyes alert, wings folded, a gentle companion in the calm of the afternoon. A faint glimmer ahead caught her attention, a silver ribbon of water reflecting sunlight as it flowed between rocks. Athena approached the stream slowly, listening to the soft murmur of water as it meandered over pebbles, its rhythm gentle and continuous. She knelt at the edge, letting her fingers touch the cool, clear water, feeling its movement slip softly through her hands. The sensation was soothing, and she closed her eyes briefly, letting the quiet symphony of the stream fill her awareness. The owl gave a low call, and Athena smiled faintly. Even in the smallest flows, there is guidance, she whispered. Patience, persistence, and gentle strength. She traced the edges of the stream, noticing how the water navigated every obstacle with grace. Tiny ripples formed around submerged stones, each adjusting naturally to the currents. She observed a small insect skimming the surface, its delicate legs barely disturbing the water, moving with careful precision. Athena reflected on the rhythm of life that seemed embedded in even the simplest movements. The path continued along the stream, winding through a grove of young pines whose trunks were slender and smooth. Sunlight filtered through their branches, creating patches of warmth on the forest floor. Athena noticed how the light shifted as the breeze passed, glinting off the water's surface in fleeting patterns. She stepped lightly over exposed roots, mindful of the textures beneath her feet, the soft moss, the firmness of rock, the occasional spring of soil under her weight. Ahead, a small waterfall cascaded gently over a cluster of stones, forming a shallow pool at its base. Athena knelt beside the pool, letting her hands trail through the water. The droplets sparkled in the sunlight, scattering light like tiny stars. She marveled at the quiet perfection of the moment, the harmony of motion and stillness coexisting seamlessly. The owl stirred slightly, its feathers brushing her shoulder. Athena glanced up and noticed a faint shimmer along the waterfall's edge, a reflection that caught the sunlight in such a way that it seemed almost deliberate. She leaned closer, eyes tracing the play of light and shadow, and felt a gentle sense of wonder unfold in her chest. Even the simplest streams carry their own quiet magic, she whispered softly. A small path led around a waterfall, partially hidden by ferns and low-hanging branches. Athena followed it, stepping carefully over stones slick with moss. The sound of the water became a soft accompaniment to the whispering breeze, merging into a serene melody. She felt the harmony of the place settle into her mind, a calm presence that seemed almost alive, guiding her without words. At the edge of the stream, the smooth stone caught her attention. She knelt to examine it, noting the tiny veins and subtle colors within its surface. It was unremarkable at first glance, yet she felt a quiet vibration, a gentle insistence that drew her awareness fully to it. Athena ran her fingers along the stone, feeling its coolness and solidity. Even the quietest stones carry lessons, she murmured. patience, resilience, and stillness. The owl blinked slowly, as if acknowledging her reflection. Athena rose, brushing her hands gently over her robe, and continued along the water's edge. The stream wound into a narrow ravine, where the sunlight filtered in slender beams, creating a soft interplay of light and shadow. She noticed tiny flowers clinging to the mossy walls, delicate and persistent. Each bloom seemed to follow the light, bending and stretching gracefully, a subtle lesson in adaptability. As she moved forward, the gentle gurgle of the stream mingled with distant bird calls, creating a layered harmony. Athena paused to observe a small fish swimming beneath the surface, its movements precise and calm, each turn smooth and deliberate. She knelt for a moment, letting her fingers hover just above the water, feeling the quiet rhythm of life around her. The owl shifted, wings brushing lightly against her shoulder, and she smiled softly. "Every movement matters," she whispered. "Even the smallest ripple changes the course of the flow." The path widened slightly as she approached a cluster of larger boulders beside the stream. Sunlight fell on their surfaces, highlighting subtle cracks and crevices where moss and tiny ferns had taken root. Athena touched one of the boulders, feeling its cool texture and the steady, enduring presence it offered. She thought of the murmuring stones, the silver-leaved trees, and the gentle song of the wind. Each had shared lessons in quiet persistence, observation, and the subtle harmony of life. A faint shimmer in the water caught her attention again, a reflection that seemed to shift with purpose. Athena knelt beside the pool, watching the sunlight scatter across the surface. She noticed how the light danced on the ripples, creating a soft, intricate pattern. In that moment, she felt a connection to all the places she had visited, the groves, the stones, the wind, and the forest around her. Each element seemed to echo the same truth, that wisdom is often quiet, gentle, and revealed in patience and attention. Athena rose slowly, feeling the warmth of the sunlight on her shoulders and the coolness of the stream in her memory. She stepped lightly over the stones, following the path that wound higher into the mountains. The owl flapped briefly, circling above before returning to her shoulder. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the scents of pine, moss, and water mingle with the soft warmth of the sun. The mountains stretched ahead, open and inviting, and Athena felt a subtle anticipation of the lessons yet to come. She knew that each encounter, each gentle observation, was building a quiet understanding of the world's hidden truths. The stream had offered guidance in persistence and reflection, just as the wind, the leaves, and the stones had done before. With calm certainty, Athena continued along the path, each step deliberate, each breath mindful. The owl's steady presence reminded her that patience and attentiveness were companions on every journey. The silver stream flowed beside her, its gentle music a quiet encouragement, leading her onward into the next layer of discovery waiting softly in the mountains. And so she moved forward, carrying the quiet wisdom of water, light, and the gentle pulse of life, ready to encounter the next unfolding truths in the hidden heart of the world. Chapter 13: The Glimmering Feather. Athena climbed steadily along the winding path beside the silver stream, the afternoon sun now casting gentle warmth across the mountainside. Each step was mindful, the soft crunch of moss and pine needles beneath her sandals blending with the quiet gurgle of water. The owl perched on her shoulder, still and watchful, its feathers catching the light in muted shades of gray and gold. The breeze carried faint hints of distant blooms and pine resin, mingling with the earthy aroma of the stream. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the scents fill her awareness, drawing her attention to the subtle interactions of the forest. Sunlight danced across the surface of the stream, shimmering in ripples, reflecting fragments of trees, stones, and sky. It was a quiet display, simple yet profound, as if the light itself whispered gentle lessons. Ahead, she noticed a faint glimmer on the mossy ground. Athena bent down carefully, brushing aside a few fallen leaves. There, nestled in a bed of soft moss, lay a single feather. It was delicate and pale, with subtle streaks of silver running through the fibers. She picked it up gently, feeling its lightness between her fingers, a smooth texture both fragile and resilient. "This must be a sign," she whispered, examining it closely. A reminder that guidance can come in the smallest forms. The owl ruffled its feathers softly, tilting its head as if in agreement. Athena held the feather up to the light, watching the sun catch each silver streak. It seemed to glow faintly, an emblem of quiet presence in the forest. She realized that the feather was not merely a piece of a bird, but a messenger of the subtle, often overlooked truths of the world around her. Carefully, she placed the feather inside her robe, feeling its gentle weight rest near her heart. The breeze stirred, lifting her hair and brushing softly against her face. She sensed the rhythm of the forest, wind, water, leaves, and the creatures moving quietly through it all. Each element seemed to carry intention, a patient guidance toward understanding, much like the feather now held close to her. Athena continued along the stream, stepping lightly over stones and roots. The light shifted as the sun began its slow descent, casting longer shadows across the moss and water. She noticed how the stream curved gracefully, avoiding obstacles with fluid patience, a reflection of the gentle persistence she had been observing throughout her journey. A faint rustle drew her attention to a small opening in the trees. There, sunlight spilled onto a clearing, highlighting the delicate patterns of grass and wildflowers. The shadows of the trees stretched across the ground, moving subtly with the breeze. Athena knelt among the flowers, feeling their softness and resilience, noticing how each stem bent toward the sun, adjusting gently to the shifting light. The owl stirred slightly, giving a low call. Athena smiled softly. "Everything in its own time," she murmured. "All life moves with intention, even when quiet and unseen." She rose slowly, stepping toward the sunlit clearing. The breeze carried the soft song of distant birds, a faint rustle of leaves, and the delicate flow of the stream. Athena observed the interplay of sound, light, and motion, sensing a harmony that was both gentle and profound. The silver feather rested lightly against her chest, a constant reminder of the subtle guidance that surrounded her. At the edge of the clearing, a small rock formation caught her attention. Athena knelt beside it, feeling the smooth surfaces, noting the tiny crevices where moss had taken root. She traced the lines with her fingertips, sensing the slow, deliberate passage of time etched into every curve. Even the smallest details held meaning, she realized, if only one paused to notice. The sun lowered further, casting a soft golden glow through the trees. Athena breathed slowly, letting the warmth and light seep into her awareness. The forest seemed alive with quiet messages, the murmur of the stream, the gentle sway of leaves, the distant calls of birds, and the ever-present rhythm of the wind. Each sound and movement carried lessons in patience, observation, and the subtle art of listening. Athena knelt once more, placing her hands lightly on the soft moss. She closed her eyes, letting the gentle pulse of life around her fill her senses. She thought of the silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden groves, and the shimmering light among the pines. Each had offered guidance, quiet yet insistent, teaching her to recognize wisdom not in grandeur, but in delicate presence. The owl flapped its wings lightly, circling above before settling back on her shoulder. Athena opened her eyes, watching the sunlight flicker through the branches. She felt the calm certainty of understanding growing within her, a gentle recognition that the world carried endless subtle truths, accessible to those patient and attentive enough to observe. As she rose, Athena traced a path toward a slight incline ahead. The sun's rays warmed her shoulders, highlighting the soft textures of moss, bark, and stone along the trail. She moved deliberately, attuned to every sound, the wind brushing through branches, the quiet flow of water, the faint stirring of small creatures in the underbrush. The feather against her chest seemed to resonate with the rhythm of the forest, a symbol of guidance and patience, linking her awareness to the gentle pulse of the natural world. The mountain path curved upward, leading to a ridge where the forest opened into soft sunlight. Athena paused at the crest, looking down at the stream winding below and the trees stretching outward. Every detail, the light, the shadows, the textures, and the subtle movements, spoke of interconnectedness. She felt a profound gratitude for the lessons embedded in the small, quiet moments of her journey. The breeze carried faint whispers of motion, gentle as a sigh. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the wind mingle with the lingering scent of pine and water. She felt the rhythm of the mountains, the pulse of life, and the quiet guidance of the feather she now held close. The owl perched steadily, eyes bright and calm, a companion through this unfolding journey of subtle discovery. And so Athena stepped forward along the ridge, the sun lowering further behind distant peaks. casting long, golden shadows across the mountainside. Each step was deliberate, each breath attentive, carrying the silver feather close to her heart. She felt the quiet assurance that the world's lessons were patient and gentle, waiting to reveal themselves to those willing to notice. The ridge ahead promised new discoveries, subtle insights hidden among the folds of light and shadow. Athena moved forward with calm anticipation, guided by observation, patience, and the gentle presence of the world around her, ready to encounter the next layer of hidden wisdom waiting quietly in the mountains. Chapter 14: The Hidden Carving. Athena continued along the ridge, the golden light of late afternoon filtering through the pine branches. Each step was steady, careful, as she followed the gentle curve of the mountainside. Beneath her feet, the soil was soft and springy in places, firm and rocky in others. Moss and lichen clung to the stones, cool beneath her touch. The owl perched quietly on her shoulder, observing with its bright, calm eyes. The breeze was subtle, carrying hints of wild herbs and distant blossoms. Athena inhaled slowly, letting the scents mingle with the warmth of the sunlight. She felt attuned to the small movements around her, the rustling of leaves, the soft murmur of the stream far below, and the delicate shadows that shifted across rocks and moss. Each detail felt deliberate, purposeful, a gentle invitation to notice and reflect. Ahead, a slight indentation in the mountainside caught her attention. The rock surface was worn smooth by time, but there, faint and almost hidden, was a carving, a delicate design etched long ago. Athena knelt, brushing away dust and moss to reveal the pattern. A small tree with intertwined branches, its roots and leaves forming a circle. The lines were subtle, elegant, and precise, capturing a balance between growth and stability. She ran her fingers lightly over the carving, feeling the grooves beneath her touch. The design seemed to pulse faintly with the warmth of the sun, as though the mountain itself acknowledged her presence. A message, she whispered softly, hidden, waiting for those who observed carefully. The owl shifted its weight, giving a soft, approving call. Athena smiled faintly. Even in silence, wisdom endures, she murmured. Etched into time, waiting for patient eyes. She traced the outline of the tree with her fingertips, noticing how the roots curve into a circle, completing a subtle pattern of continuity and connection. Athena reflected on the silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden groves, and the shimmering light among the pines. Each had offered guidance in quiet, often overlooked ways. This carving, carved into the rock, seemed to speak of the enduring nature of wisdom and the subtle signs that point the way for those who are attentive. A faint breeze stirred, lifting her hair and brushing her cheeks. Athena looked up and noticed the sunlight playing across the ridge, illuminating tiny veins of mica in the rocks, sparkling softly like stars. She inhaled deeply, feeling the gentle rhythm of the mountains around her. The carving, the feather, the stream, the wind, all were part of the quiet, patient lessons she had been learning. Athena rose slowly, keeping her fingers lightly pressed against the stone as she stood. She felt the mountain beneath her feet, solid and enduring, a quiet reminder of stability and resilience. The owl blinked slowly, as if affirming the lesson of balance and patience. Athena continued along the ridge, each step deliberate, each movement mindful, carrying the awareness of the hidden carving with her. The path descended gently into a small clearing, where sunlight fell in warm, scattered beams. Wildflowers nodded in the breeze, their petals delicate and resilient. Athena knelt, brushing her fingers lightly over the soft textures, noticing the subtle variations in color and form. She felt the pulse of life in each stem, each leaf, each petal, a gentle echo of the wisdom she was gathering along her journey. A distant sound of flowing water drew her attention to a narrow ravine. She moved toward it, stepping lightly over roots and stones, feeling the texture shift beneath her feet. The stream below sparkled in the sunlight, its rhythm calm and unhurried. Athena knelt at the edge, letting her hands brush through the cool, clear water. She observed the tiny ripples, each moving around small obstacles with patience and grace, reflecting the patterns she had seen in the carved tree. The owl gave a soft call, and Athena turned to notice a slight shimmer along the stream's edge. Tiny droplets of water caught the sunlight, scattering prismatic light across the rocks and moss. She smiled softly, sensing the continuity of lessons from stone, feather, water, and tree. Each element was a teacher, each moment a quiet guide toward understanding the subtle rhythms of life. Athena rose again, following the stream as it wound through the ravine. The sunlight began to lower, casting longer shadows across the forest floor. She observed the interplay of light and movement, noticing the intricate balance between shadow and shine, stillness and flow. The carving in the ridge, the silver feather, the murmuring stream, all were connected in ways she could feel but not yet fully articulate. As the path rose gently toward the next ridge, Athena paused at a small outcropping of rocks. She sat briefly, resting her hands on the smooth stone surfaces, feeling the steady pulse of the mountain beneath her. The owl perched close, eyes bright and calm. Athena reflected on the quiet endurance of the carving, the way it had been hidden yet preserved, waiting patiently for discovery. She realized that wisdom often resides in hidden places, revealed only to those who move with attention and care. The wind brushed her hair and cloak, carrying the faint scent of pine and earth. Athena closed her eyes, listening to the soft symphony of the forest, the rustling leaves, the gentle murmur of the stream, the distant call of a bird. She felt the quiet presence of the mountain and the enduring message of a hidden carving settle into her awareness. Rising slowly, she stepped forward along the ridge, the path illuminated by soft golden light. Each step was deliberate, each breath attentive, carrying the quiet lessons of the carving and the surrounding forest. Athena felt a gentle anticipation for the subtle discoveries that awaited in the mountains beyond, where the next layer of hidden wisdom would reveal itself in patient, unobtrusive ways. The owl shifted its weight, giving a soft call, and Athena smiled faintly. With calm certainty, she moved onward, guided by observation, patience, and the quiet pulse of the natural world around her. The hidden carving remained in her thoughts, a gentle emblem of enduring wisdom, ready to guide her through the next moments of discovery waiting quietly among the mountains. Chapter 15: The Guiding Firefly. The sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the mountainside in warm hues of amber and gold. Athena followed the winding path with measured steps, feeling the gentle incline beneath her feet. The owl perched quietly on her shoulder, its soft feathers brushing against her arm as it observed every movement around them. The air was crisp with the scent of pine and earth, mingling with faint traces of distant blossoms that floated on the evening breeze. As the light shifted, a subtle glimmer appeared ahead, flickering in the growing shadows of the forest. Athena paused, her gray eyes narrowing in gentle curiosity. The glow was soft, almost imperceptible at first, but it pulsed steadily, guiding her attention along a narrow clearing lined with moss-covered stones and delicate ferns. Crouching lightly, Athena approached the flicker with cautious fascination. A small firefly hovered in the fading sunlight, its tiny body radiating a warm, gentle light. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if aware of its path and intent on leading her somewhere beyond her immediate sight. Athena's heart stirred softly at the sight. Even the smallest beings, she whispered, carry guidance for those willing to notice. The owl shifted slightly, wings brushing her robe, and Athena followed the firefly's gentle flight. It floated ahead, weaving among the ferns and roots, pausing occasionally as if inviting her to observe the details of the forest floor. The light danced over fallen leaves, illuminating subtle patterns in the moss and highlighting tiny blossoms she might otherwise have overlooked. Athena bent down, brushing her fingers over the cool, soft moss. The texture was comforting, grounding her in the quiet rhythm of the forest. She noticed how each tiny fern and flower adjusted to the light, bending delicately to catch the fleeting glow of the firefly. There was a harmony in the smallest details, a silent coordination that spoke to her of patience, observation, and gentle attentiveness. The firefly led her to a small clearing beside a babbling stream. The water reflected the soft glow, scattering tiny beams across the rocks and moss. Athena knelt, letting her fingers brush the surface. The water was cool and steady, moving around stones with a patient grace that mirrored the firefly's gentle guidance. She marveled at the quiet symphony of light and movement, the firefly, the ripples, the dancing shadows, all existing in harmonious rhythm. She watched the insect hover near a cluster of delicate wildflowers, its light illuminating the petals in soft amber. Athena noticed how each bloom tilted and curved toward the glow, subtly responsive to its presence. Even light in small forms, she murmured, can illuminate the unseen, guiding quietly without force. The owl blinked slowly, tilting its head as if acknowledging her reflection. Athena rose, tracing her hand along the edge of the stream, feeling the gentle pulse of water and life beneath her fingers. She stepped lightly over mossy stones, following the path the firefly traced in the fading light. Every step, every glance, every subtle movement carried her deeper into the forest's gentle guidance, teaching her lessons in patience, attentiveness, and quiet understanding. A faint rustle in the underbrush drew her attention. A tiny rabbit emerged, pausing in the soft light, its ears alert yet relaxed. It regarded her briefly, then hopped along the path she was following, weaving through the ferns and moss. Athena watched its careful movements, recognizing the same quiet intentionality she had observed in the firefly, the stream, and the moss beneath her hands. Even the smallest travelers leave trails of wisdom, she whispered. If we notice, they teach us gently. The firefly moved ahead, leading Athena to a fallen log partially covered in moss. Its glow reflected softly across the surface, revealing subtle patterns in the bark and the tiny plants that had taken root in the decayed wood. Athena knelt, brushing her fingers across the textures, feeling the interplay of softness, resilience, and quiet growth. She realized that life often flourished in places overlooked, guided not by grand gestures but by subtle, patient persistence. The owl flapped lightly, settling back on her shoulder, eyes bright and steady. Athena continued along the clearing, following the flickering light as it weaved toward a gentle incline. The sun had lowered further, painting the sky with delicate shades of rose and lavender, and the forest seemed to hold its breath, listening to the quiet unfolding of evening. Athena paused at the crest of the incline, looking down at the forest below. The firefly hovered momentarily, its glow casting soft reflections on the leaves and stones. Athena felt a deep calm settle within her. The gentle guidance of the small creature mirrored the lessons she had gathered throughout her journey. The silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, and the flowing stream. Each encounter had taught her that wisdom often resided in subtle forms, waiting for those patient and attentive enough to perceive it. The firefly's light pulsed once more, as if to emphasize its silent message. Athena smiled softly, feeling the quiet assurance of understanding deepen in her chest. She stepped forward, following the gentle glow down the incline, letting the rhythms of the forest guide her steps. The breeze carried the faint scent of earth and pine, mingling with the soft warmth of evening, and Athena inhaled deeply, letting the sensations ground her in the present. The owl gave a low call, and Athena noticed that more fireflies had begun to appear, their collective glow creating a soft, scattered trail along the forest floor. The delicate illumination revealed textures and patterns she might have otherwise missed, the contours of mossy stones, the subtle curved roots, the tiny blossoms leaning toward the gentle light. Athena followed the trail slowly, each step deliberate, each breath mindful, carrying the calm awareness that guidance often came in the smallest, quietest forms. As night approached, the forest softened into shadows, the glow of the fireflies brightening against the dimming light. Athena paused, resting her hands lightly on a mossy rock, feeling the gentle pulse of the evening around her. She reflected on the lessons of the day, the subtle presence of life, the quiet persistence of creatures, the interplay of light and shadow, and recognized that wisdom often revealed itself not through grand actions, but through delicate, patient observation. The fireflies continued to lead her gently through the clearing, their glow creating a soft path forward. Athena felt a quiet anticipation for the discoveries yet to come, knowing that each gentle encounter, each moment of mindful attention, carried her closer to the hidden truths she sought. The owl perched steadily, a calm companion through the unfolding evening, and Athena moved forward with deliberate care, embracing the subtle guidance of the forest, the silver feather, and the gentle pulse of life around her. Chapter 16: The Stone Circle. Evening settled softly over the mountains, the sky painted in gentle shades of rose and violet. Athena followed the faint path winding through the forest, her steps careful and deliberate. The owl perched steadily on her shoulder, its quiet presence grounding her attention to the rhythm of the journey. The air carried the faint, sweet scent of pine and moss, mingling with the coolness of the approaching night. Ahead, the soft flicker of fireflies continued to illuminate her way, their gentle glow highlighting the textures of the forest floor, the delicate curve of roots, the uneven surfaces of mossy stones, and the subtle rise and fall of the terrain. Athena's fingers brushed lightly over moss-covered rocks as she walked, appreciating the cool, slightly damp sensation beneath her touch. A small clearing emerged, bathed in the last golden light of the setting sun. At its center, a circle of stones stood, worn smooth by age, each carefully placed in a precise yet unforced formation. Athena's eyes widened softly as she approached. The stones, ranging from modest pebbles to larger, rounded boulders, formed a delicate pattern of harmony and balance. She knelt, running her fingers along the surfaces. The stones were cool to the touch, yet their smoothness seemed to hold the warmth of countless days and nights, a subtle testament to the passage of time. "Each one has its place," she whispered. "Each contributes quietly to the whole." The owl shifted slightly, wings brushing against her robe, as if sharing her reverence for the circle. Athena traced the perimeter, noting the spaces between the stones, the gentle curves and angles. The arrangement seemed to echo patterns she had seen in other parts of the forest: the flowing stream, the intertwined branches of the carved tree, and even the subtle flight of the fireflies. A quiet realization settled in her mind. Balance was not forced, but observed and nurtured, emerging naturally when attention and care were applied. A soft breeze stirred, rustling the leaves above and carrying faint fragrances of earth and distant blossoms. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the sensations fill her awareness. She noticed how the light of the fading sun glinted across the edges of the stones, creating subtle shadows that shifted with the gentle movement of the forest. The interplay of light and form felt almost like a language, one that spoke in patterns and rhythms rather than words. Athena knelt in the center of the circle, placing her hands lightly on the stones surrounding her. She closed her eyes, letting the quiet pulse of the forest, the subtle vibration of the stones, and the rhythmic call of distant birds settle her thoughts. The owl perched close, its head tilted slightly, as though observing the energies at play. She reflected on the journey so far: the silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, and the guiding fireflies. Each had offered subtle lessons, gentle reminders of patience, observation, and quiet awareness. Now, in the presence of the stone circle, Athena sensed a deeper truth: that harmony arises from the careful alignment of elements, each contributing in its own way, forming a balanced whole. A faint ripple of sound reached her ears: the soft trickle of a distant stream, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of the evening breeze. Athena felt the rhythm of the world synchronize with her own breathing. She let her fingers linger on the cool surfaces of the stones, feeling their steady, unhurried presence. It was as if the circle itself held the wisdom of the mountains, a gentle reminder of the enduring patterns of life. The owl flapped lightly, perching on a nearby stone, and Athena observed how its shadow stretched across the circle, mingling with the shadows of the stones. Each shadow shifted subtly with the fading light, creating a dance of form and space that mirrored the gentle motion of life all around her. She realized that wisdom was not merely a destination but a practice, an attentive, mindful engagement with the quiet patterns of the world. Athena rose slowly, walking carefully around the circle, tracing the spaces between the stones and noting how each contributed to the integrity of the whole. She marveled at the effortless precision, the way the formation conveyed stability and calm without imposing force. It reminded her of the firefly's gentle guidance, the patient flow of the stream, and the hidden carving, an interwoven tapestry of subtle lessons revealing themselves in small, consistent ways. The light softened further, the sky now deepening into shades of indigo and lavender. Athena's gaze lifted to the horizon, where the first stars began to appear, their faint glimmer echoing the earlier presence of fireflies. She felt the quiet assurance of continuity: the stones, the trees, the water, the creatures, and the sky above, all part of an intricate web of balance and harmony. The owl blinked slowly, settling back on her shoulder, and Athena inhaled deeply, savoring the cool, fragrant evening air. She moved gently toward the edge of the clearing, stepping carefully over moss and roots, carrying with her the awareness of the stone circle and the lessons it offered. The circle was a quiet guide, a reminder that wisdom often resides in alignment, harmony, and attentive presence, waiting for those who notice with care. As she continued along the path, the first notes of nocturnal birds echoed softly through the forest. Athena felt a gentle anticipation, knowing that the journey would continue to unfold in subtle, meaningful ways. The mountains, the streams, the stones, and the creatures around her all whispered quiet lessons, patiently waiting to be observed and understood. And so she moved onward, guided by the soft pulse of life, the rhythm of the forest, and the enduring lesson of the stone circle. Each step carried her deeper into the mountains, deeper into the subtle revelations of wisdom waiting quietly among the quiet folds of the earth, ready to be discovered by patient, attentive eyes. Chapter 17: The Distant Glow. The night had settled softly over the mountains, painting the sky in deep shades of indigo and violet. Athena walked slowly along the forested path, the owl perched quietly on her shoulder, its soft feathers brushing against her arm with each subtle movement. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine and the earthy perfume of the damp soil beneath her feet. Her sandals pressed lightly into moss and soft soil, making each step deliberate and mindful. A subtle light flickered in the distance, delicate and golden, like a distant star hovering just above the treetops. Athena paused, tilting her head to observe it, her gray eyes reflecting a soft curiosity. The glow was not harsh or sudden. It shimmered faintly, pulsing gently as though alive, moving slowly among the trees. She felt an unspoken invitation in its presence, a quiet nudge guiding her attention and curiosity. The owl shifted its weight, eyes tracking the gentle glow. Athena stepped forward, careful not to disturb the stillness of the forest. Each root and stone beneath her feet was familiar, yet tonight, everything felt alive in a new gentle rhythm. The light flickered again, moving slightly to the left, and Athena followed, her hands brushing softly over moss-covered stones and low-hanging branches. The glow led her to a small clearing where the moonlight fell in silver beams, mixing with the warm golden shimmer that hovered above a cluster of ferns. Athena knelt slowly, resting her hands lightly on the cool, damp earth. She noticed how the fireflies, scattered throughout the clearing, reflected the golden glow, their tiny bodies flickering in harmony with the distant light. "It's like the forest itself is breathing," she whispered to herself, her voice soft, barely louder than the rustle of leaves. Every movement, every light, every shadow is part of the same quiet rhythm. The glow moved closer, revealing itself as a delicate cluster of tiny, luminous orbs hovering just above the ground. Athena reached out slowly, letting her fingertips hover near them without touching. Each orb pulsed gently, and she felt a calm warmth radiating through her chest. It was neither startling nor overwhelming, merely soft, serene, and patient. The owl blinked slowly, wings tucked close, and Athena sensed that the creatures and the light were all part of a subtle harmony. She noticed how the forest floor reflected faint traces of silver light, mirroring the rhythm of the glowing orbs. Tiny leaves quivered as the wind passed, and Athena observed their subtle movements, realizing how everything in this moment, stone, leaf, light, and creature, was connected in a quiet, intricate dance. Athena knelt fully now, resting her hands on the ground and closing her eyes. She inhaled deeply, letting the cool night air fill her lungs. The glow of the orbs seemed to synchronize with her heartbeat, slow and steady. She felt a gentle clarity rising within her, a soft awareness that wisdom often revealed itself not through loud or grand gestures, but through subtle, persistent presence. One orb drifted slightly closer than the others, pulsing with a rhythm that felt almost like a whisper, though no sound reached her ears. Athena reached toward it with her hand, and it shifted delicately, floating just beyond her fingertips. She smiled softly, sensing the unspoken message. Patience, observation, and quiet attention reveal truths hidden to those who rush or demand. The owl stirred, giving a low, approving call, and Athena rose slowly, following the gentle glow through the clearing. Each step was measured, attentive, and calm. She noticed the way the moonlight and the golden orbs interplayed with shadows, creating patterns across mossy rocks and delicate ferns. The forest felt alive with quiet intention, each element participating in a subtle symphony of life. Ahead, a small stone path emerged, partly hidden beneath fallen leaves and moss. The glow hovered above it, encouraging Athena to move forward. She stepped carefully, brushing leaves aside and feeling the firm stone beneath her sandals. The path curved slightly, leading her toward a gentle rise in the terrain. Every movement of her body, every breath she took, seemed in harmony with the rhythm of the forest and the soft pulsing light. As she reached the top of the rise, Athena looked down at a small pool of water, reflecting both the silver of the moon and the golden shimmer of the orbs. The surface rippled gently, disturbed only by a soft breeze. She knelt, letting her fingers graze the cool water, and observed how the reflections danced and merged, creating fleeting patterns of light and shadow. The moment felt timeless, as though the world itself had paused to reveal this quiet, intricate harmony. Athena's thoughts drifted softly, reflecting on the path that had brought her here. The silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the guiding fireflies, and the stone circle. Each had offered lessons in observation, patience, and subtle presence. Now, the distant glow added another layer, a quiet reminder that guidance often manifests in forms delicate and luminous, waiting for attentive eyes to recognize them. The owl shifted slightly, wings brushing lightly against her arm. Athena smiled softly, feeling the comfort of its steady presence. She rose, tracing the edges of the pool and following the gentle incline beyond it. The orbs drifted ahead, their light a calm, reassuring guide through the growing shadows of the forest. Every step was deliberate, every breath mindful, and Athena felt a gentle anticipation for the next subtle revelation waiting along the path. The sky darkened further, stars twinkling faintly through gaps in the trees. Athena walked with quiet confidence, the glowing orbs leading her onward, their soft pulsing light creating a serene rhythm in the night. She sensed that the forest, the moon, and the creatures around her were all part of a delicate balance, each contributing to the hidden truths she sought to understand. And so she moved forward, guided by the distant glow, by her careful attention, and by the steady presence of life around her. Each step carried her deeper into the forest, deeper into the subtle revelations of wisdom that waited patiently, quietly, and luminously among the mountains. Chapter 18: The Moonlit Mist. The forest had grown quieter as Athena followed the soft, pulsing glow of the orbs. Night had fully settled, and the canopy above framed a deep indigo sky, sprinkled with faint stars that twinkled like distant fireflies. The owl perched silently on her shoulder, its feathers brushing gently against her arm. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the soft murmuring of a distant stream, the occasional sigh of the wind, was amplified in the serene hush of the night. Ahead, a faint silvery haze hung between the trees, shimmering in the combined light of the moon and the orbs. Athena paused, observing it closely. The mist was delicate, swirling slowly around the trunks and branches, moving with a rhythm that felt almost purposeful. It clung lightly to the moss and ferns, tracing their contours and highlighting their textures with a subtle glow. Even the quietest things carry messages, Athena whispered softly. She stepped forward carefully, her sandals brushing the forest floor, feeling the soft, damp texture beneath her feet. The mist caressed her skin as she moved through it, cool and gentle, leaving a faint scent of pine and earth that mingled with the crisp night air. The owl shifted its weight, wings brushing her robe, eyes bright and watchful. Athena raised her hand slightly, letting her fingers glide through the swirling mist. She felt the subtle currents, delicate yet deliberate, weaving through the trees and around the stones. Every movement of the mist seemed to carry an unspoken message, a gentle invitation to observe, reflect, and absorb. Ahead, the mist thinned slightly to reveal a small clearing bathed in moonlight. Athena knelt at the edge, her hands resting lightly on the soft moss. The moon reflected on the mist in silvery beams, creating delicate patterns that danced slowly across the ground. She observed the interplay of light and shadow, of solid and ephemeral, realizing that each moment of her journey revealed wisdom in forms both tangible and fleeting. A faint call echoed from a distance, a soft, melodious note that blended with the gentle rustle of leaves and the whisper of the mist. Athena smiled softly. Every sound, every movement, she murmured, teaches if we only listen. She traced the edges of the clearing with her eyes, noticing how the mist formed around stones and roots, weaving them into shapes that seemed intentional yet effortlessly natural. The firefly orbs hovered around the clearing, their golden glow mingling with the silvery moonlight. Athena reached out, letting her fingertips hover just above them. The light pulsed gently, reflecting in her eyes, and she felt a subtle warmth spread through her chest, a quiet reminder of the guidance she had received on this journey so far. Each encounter, the silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the fireflies, the stone circle, and the distant glow, had offered lessons in patience, observation, and gentle awareness. Now, the mist added another layer, teaching her the importance of subtlety and the beauty in impermanence. Athena rose slowly, stepping into the clearing. Her feet pressed softly into the moss, the mist curling around her ankles like a gentle embrace. She observed the small plants, ferns, and tiny blossoms illuminated by the mingling light, noticing how each leaned slightly toward the glow, responding delicately to the elements around it. She paused near a cluster of moss-covered stones, resting her hand lightly on one of them. The cool texture grounded her, and she reflected on how the solid permanence of stone and the fleeting, shifting nature of mist coexisted seamlessly. Balance, she whispered, exists when we honor both what is steadfast and what is transient. The owl flapped its wings softly, settling beside her on the stone. Athena noticed how its shadow stretched across the mist, merging with the silver haze in delicate patterns. She realized that even shadows carried lessons, subtle shapes shaped by light, movement, and perspective. Everything in the forest, she understood, was interconnected, each detail a quiet reflection of the larger harmony. As she moved through the clearing, Athena felt the mist rise gently around her shoulders, brushing her skin and hair. She inhaled deeply, the cool, fragrant air filling her lungs. Each breath was a reminder of the quiet rhythm of life, the steady pulse of nature, and the gentle unfolding of understanding that came from careful observation and patience. The path beyond the clearing led upward slightly, and Athena noticed that the mist thinned gradually, revealing a moonlit slope strewn with smooth stones and delicate ferns. She stepped carefully, feeling the textures beneath her feet and observing the subtle interplay of light and shadow. The owl shifted lightly, following her movements with watchful attention. A faint breeze stirred, carrying whispers of distant streams, rustling leaves, and the faint hum of nocturnal insects. Athena smiled softly, feeling the calm certainty of the forest's rhythm settle within her. The moonlight illuminated her path, highlighting small details she might otherwise have overlooked. The subtle curve of a root, the tiny glimmer of dew on a leaf, the delicate petals of a wildflower catching the silver glow. She paused on the slope, resting her hands lightly on a stone, and reflected on the journey so far. Each encounter had been gentle yet profound, teaching her about patience, attentiveness, and the quiet wisdom embedded in the world. The mist, with its soft, ephemeral presence, was another teacher, reminding her that even fleeting moments held meaning, and that awareness was the key to recognizing the subtle truths hidden in plain sight. Athena rose again, following the incline to the top of the slope. The mist lingered lightly, curling around the edges of moss and stone, yet thinning enough to reveal the forest beyond. She felt a quiet anticipation, knowing that the night held more lessons, more gentle guidance, waiting patiently for her to notice. The owl gave a soft call, and Athena continued forward, carrying with her the understanding of balance and permanence and the quiet pulse of life she had absorbed in the moonlit mist. Each step, each breath, each moment of attentive observation deepened her awareness, preparing her for the next subtle discovery that awaited in the mountains. And so she moved onward, enveloped in the soft glow of moonlight and mist, guided by careful observation, gentle patience, and the enduring presence of life all around her, each step leading her deeper into the hidden truths that awaited silently among the forested slopes. Chapter 19. The Whispering Waterfall. Athena descended gently from the moonlit slope, guided by the lingering mist that clung softly to the forest floor. The owl perched steadily on her shoulder, silent and alert. Every step was deliberate, her sandals brushing lightly against moss and fallen leaves, each contact sending subtle impressions of texture and coolness through her senses. The night was deep and still, yet it carried life in every whisper of movement, the rustling of leaves, the faint stirring of small creatures, and the soft sigh of the wind. As she rounded a bend in the path, a delicate sound reached her ears, a soft flowing murmur, rising and falling rhythmically. Athena paused, tilting her head to listen more closely. The sound was calming, gentle, and yet insistent enough to pull her toward it with quiet curiosity. It was the song of water over stone, rhythmic and steady, echoing faintly through the trees. Carefully, she followed the sound, stepping lightly over roots and uneven terrain. The forest around her seemed to hush, as though making way for the murmuring voice of the stream ahead. The moonlight filtered through the branches, creating a dappled path of silver light that guided her forward. Athena inhaled slowly, letting the crisp night air mingle with the soft, earthy scents of pine and moss. As she reached a clearing, the source of the sound became clear. A small waterfall tumbled over smooth rocks into a quiet pool below. The water flowed in gentle, unhurried waves, spilling softly over stones that had been worn by time. Moonlight and the golden glow of lingering fireflies reflected across the rippling surface, scattering delicate, moving patterns of light and shadow. Athena knelt at the edge of the pool, letting her fingers brush through the cool water. The sensation was soothing, grounding her in the present moment. She watched the water ripple and swirl around her touch, realizing that even the smallest movement could create waves that extended outward, subtle yet far-reaching. The waterfall's gentle song seemed to harmonize with the rhythm of the forest, the pulse of life flowing quietly all around her. The owl gave a soft, approving call, and Athena smiled, observing how its shadow danced lightly across the rocks and mist near the pool. She traced the contours of the stones with her fingers, noting their smooth surfaces, the tiny crevices where moss had taken root, and the gentle curves shaped by centuries of flowing water. Everything in this place, the water, the stones, the mist, the light, with a lesson in patience and subtle persistence. Athena rested her hands on her knees, closing her eyes briefly to absorb the sounds and sensations. The waterfall's whispering seemed to speak directly to her, not in words but in rhythm and texture, teaching her that understanding often emerges not from forceful learning but from quiet observation and reflection. Each element, she realized, carried its own wisdom, waiting for those attentive enough to notice. Opening her eyes, she noticed a small fish darting beneath the water's surface, moving gracefully around submerged stones. The creature's deliberate, fluid motion mirrored the patterns she had observed throughout her journey. The silver feather, the guiding fireflies, the stone circle, and the moonlit mist. Each had taught her lessons in attentiveness, balance, and the gentle unfolding of understanding. Now, the waterfall added another layer, showing how even in constant movement, harmony could exist. Athena knelt a little closer to the edge, letting her fingertips trace the ripples across the surface. She felt a faint chill as the water slipped through her fingers, leaving tiny trails of cool sensation across her skin. The owl shifted lightly, eyes bright and steady, watching the delicate reflections of moonlight dancing across the ripples. Athena breathed slowly, letting the rhythm of the water synchronize with her heartbeat, a quiet reminder of the pulse of life in all its forms. She rose slowly, stepping around the edge of the pool to explore the waterfall more fully. Each step was measured, deliberate, as she moved over mossy stones and small roots. She noticed how the water carved its own path, flowing around obstacles with patience and precision, never rushing, never forcing, simply moving as it must. The subtle lesson of persistence and harmony settled softly in her chest, complementing the insights she had gained from the forest, the stone circle, and the moonlit mist. A faint breeze stirred, carrying the scent of wet stone and pine through the clearing. Athena lifted her face to the night sky, watching how the stars mirrored the flickering glow of distant fireflies. The waterfall's rhythm blended with the gentle murmur of the wind and the distant rustle of leaves, forming a quiet symphony that filled the clearing. She felt the forest and water and sky enveloping her, each contributing a note to the silent, gentle guidance surrounding her. Athena knelt once more, letting the water flow through her hands as she reflected on the journey so far. Each encounter had been a subtle teacher, the feather's delicate guidance, the hidden carving's enduring wisdom, the firefly's gentle illumination, the stone circle's quiet balance, the distant glow's patient lead, and the moonlit mist's ephemeral beauty. Now, the waterfall's soft murmur emphasized continuity, persistence, and the quiet impact of mindful presence. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the chorus of night sounds, the waterfall's rhythm, the breeze through branches, the distant call of an owl, and the subtle movements of creatures in the underbrush. Every element contributed to the unfolding lesson. That wisdom emerges gradually, with patience and attentiveness, and that understanding is revealed most clearly to those who move gently through the world. Rising slowly, Athena traced the edge of the clearing one last time, letting her hand brush lightly over the moss-covered stones. The waterfall continued its gentle song, unhurried and constant. She felt a deep calm settle within her, a quiet assurance that the forest, the water, and the subtle lights guiding her steps were all part of a larger, interconnected whole. With deliberate steps, she moved away from the pool, following the soft slope that led further into the mountains. The owl remained perched on her shoulder, steady and alert, and Athena felt the calm presence of all the lessons she had gathered, carrying her awareness like treasures stored gently in her heart. The forest around her seemed to whisper in response, every rustle, ripple, and flicker contributing to the quiet rhythm of her journey. And so she continued, guided by the soft murmur of the waterfall, by the attentive rhythms of the forest, and by her own patient observations. Each step brought her deeper into the hidden truths of the mountains, where subtle wisdom awaited silently, quietly, and patiently, ready to reveal itself to those who noticed with care. Chapter 20: The Nocturnal Dance. Athena continued her slow journey through the forest, guided by the gentle pulse of the waterfall still echoing softly behind her. The moon had climbed higher, casting silver light across the treetops and illuminating the path ahead with a soft, serene glow. The owl remained perched on her shoulder, its quiet presence steadying her as she moved carefully over moss-covered roots and stones. The night was alive in subtle ways. Tiny creatures stirred in the underbrush, shrews rustling softly through fallen leaves, crickets vibrating the air with their delicate song, and small frogs peeking from the damp edges of a stream. Athena moved with careful attention, pausing to observe their gentle motions, noting how each seemed to exist in harmony with the others. A soft rustling drew her gaze toward a small clearing. Moonlight fell in a dappled pattern on the forest floor. There, she noticed a group of foxes moving quietly among the ferns and low shrubs. They did not rush. Each step was deliberate, each glance attentive. The creatures weaved around one another in a gentle choreography, pausing occasionally to sniff the earth or nuzzle one another. Athena watched in silent fascination. "The forest has its own rhythm," she whispered, almost to herself. "Every being moves in balance, each contributing to the quiet harmony of the night." She knelt, brushing her fingers lightly over a patch of moss near the edge of the clearing. The texture was soft and cool, and she could feel the tiny tremors of life beneath her touch. The foxes continued their slow, deliberate movements, each one aware of the other, each responding subtly to the gentle cues of the forest. Athena recognized a reflection of the lessons she had gathered along her journey: the firefly's guiding light, the stone circle's quiet balance, and the waterfall's persistent rhythm. The owl shifted slightly, wings brushing her arm, and Athena felt a quiet reassurance in its steady presence. She rose slowly, stepping closer to the clearing while keeping her movements light and deliberate. She observed the interplay of shadow and moonlight on the fox's fur, the way their eyes glimmered softly, and the gentle rustle of leaves as they moved through the ferns. Each detail was precise yet natural, part of an intricate pattern she was learning to recognize and respect. A soft breeze carried the scent of pine and damp earth, mingling with the subtle fragrance of night-blooming flowers. Athena inhaled deeply, allowing herself to become fully present. She noticed the delicate rhythm of the fox's movements, their interactions forming an unspoken communication of balance and attentiveness. Even the smallest gestures, a twitch of an ear, a tilt of the head, a careful step, seemed to contribute to a larger, harmonious pattern. She crouched a little lower, letting her eyes adjust fully to the interplay of light and shadow. The golden glimmer of fireflies hovered near the clearing, adding a soft illumination to the scene. Athena realized that the nocturnal dance she observed was a living reflection of the subtle wisdom she had been gathering, the quiet interplay of awareness, patience, and harmony. The foxes paused near a patch of mossy rocks, their movements slowing further as if sensing Athena's presence. She held her breath, careful not to disturb the delicate rhythm unfolding before her. One fox stepped lightly toward another, brushing its nose gently against the other's fur. Athena smiled softly, sensing the silent lesson of trust, connection, and the quiet communication that exists beyond words. The owl gave a low, approving call, and Athena turned her gaze upward briefly, noticing how the moonlight shifted through the trees, casting long, soft shadows across the clearing. She felt a deep calm settle within her chest, an acknowledgement of the interconnectedness of life she had been observing for nights along the mountainside. Each moment, each interaction, each gentle rhythm contributed to an understanding that could not be learned through instruction alone, but through patient, attentive observation. Athena knelt once more at the edge of the clearing, letting her hand brush the soft moss while keeping her eyes on the foxes. The gentle sway of ferns, the subtle movement of fireflies, and the rhythmic whisper of the distant waterfall combined into a quiet symphony. She realized that wisdom often revealed itself in the most ordinary of actions when observed with care. The subtle gestures of trust and awareness, the delicate balance between stillness and motion. She rose slowly, stepping lightly around the clearing, her gaze taking in every detail. The small stones, the curved roots, the tiny blossoms catching the moonlight. Each element, she understood, was a piece of a larger harmony. The nocturnal dance of the foxes reminded her that even in darkness, there is guidance, connection, and rhythm if one watches with patience and care. The forest seemed to respond to her presence, the air carrying a faint vibration, a quiet acknowledgement of the lessons she had absorbed. Athena felt a gentle anticipation for what lay ahead. The owl flapped its wings lightly, settling again on her shoulder, and she followed the path that curved gently away from the clearing, leading deeper into the quiet folds of the mountains. She paused briefly on a mossy rock, resting her hand and letting the night air brush her cheeks. She reflected on the journey so far, the feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the guiding fireflies, the stone circle, the distant glow, the moonlit mist, and the whispering waterfall. Each had offered lessons in patience, observation, and gentle awareness. Now, the nocturnal dance of the foxes added insight into harmony, trust, and the subtle communication woven into every living being's movements. Athena breathed deeply, letting the calm of the forest fill her chest. She stood slowly, the owl shifting slightly, and continued along the path, feeling the textures beneath her feet, the soft brush of moss against her hands, and the gentle rhythm of life around her. Each step carried her deeper into understanding, deeper into the quiet truths hidden among the mountains. And so she moved onward, guided by the nocturnal dance, the rhythm of the forest, and the patient awareness she had cultivated. Each moment, each gentle interaction, each attentive observation deepened her understanding of wisdom, preparing her for the discoveries still waiting silently in the night. Chapter 21: The Moonlit Glade. Athena continued along the gentle curve of the mountain path, her movements quiet and deliberate. The owl remained perched on her shoulder, eyes alert, observing the subtle shifts in the night air. The forest around her seemed to exhale softly, the rustling of leaves blending with the faint hum of nocturnal insects. Moonlight filtered through the canopy above, illuminating patches of moss and the delicate curve of ferns with silvery glow. Ahead, the path widened into a small glade, a natural clearing surrounded by tall, slender trees. The moonlight poured across the space, casting a serene illumination that softened the shadows of the surrounding forest. The air carried a subtle fragrance of night-blooming flowers, mingling with the scent of damp earth and pine. Athena stepped lightly into the glade, her sandals pressing gently into the soft moss beneath her feet. The surface of a small, shallow pool lay at the center of the glade, reflecting the moon and the surrounding trees with still, glassy clarity. Athena knelt beside it, letting her hands hover just above the water. The reflection of the moon seemed to pulse softly in time with her heartbeat, a quiet, steady rhythm that drew her attention inward as well as outward. She touched the water lightly with her fingertips, sending ripples across the mirrored surface. The movement scattered the reflected light into delicate patterns across the surrounding ferns and moss. Athena observed the gentle interplay of reflection and ripple, realizing how even small disturbances could transform a scene subtly, yet beautifully. The owl shifted slightly, wings brushing her robe, and she sensed its quiet presence as a reminder of balance and observation. A soft breeze stirred, carrying the faint rustle of leaves and the distant whisper of the forest. Athena breathed deeply, inhaling the mingled scents of flowers, pine, and damp earth. She felt a profound calm settle within her chest, an awareness of the interconnectedness of life around her. Every detail, the movement of water, the curve of moss-covered stones, the glimmer of moonlight, was part of a larger, harmonious whole. Athena traced the edge of the pool with her fingertips, feeling the smoothness of the stones beneath her hands. Tiny ripples reflected the light, shimmering across the surface like gentle threads of silver and gold. She watched closely, noticing how even the smallest movement of water or leaf altered the patterns of light, revealing a quiet, delicate dance she had never fully appreciated before. Every small thing matters, she whispered softly to herself. Even what seems fleeting carries weight in the balance of the whole. Her gray eyes reflected the shimmering moonlight, and she felt a deep sense of awareness settle over her. The lessons she had gathered along her journey, the silver feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the guiding fireflies, the stone circle, the distant glow, the moonlit mist, the whispering waterfall, and the nocturnal dance, were converging here in this quiet, moonlit glade. She knelt fully beside the pool, letting her fingers glide over the cool, smooth stones at its edge. The water moved gently around them, rippling softly as though responding to her touch. Athena noticed tiny insects skimming the surface, their delicate wings catching the moonlight. Each movement was subtle, yet it added to the intricate harmony of the glade. She reflected on the gentle rhythm of life, recognizing that wisdom often resides not in forceful or grand gestures, but in quiet, deliberate, and attentive presence. The owl gave a soft, approving call, and Athena felt the reassurance of its steady watchfulness. She closed her eyes briefly, listening to the ambient sounds of the forest, the faint hum of insects, the whisper of the breeze, the gentle ripple of water, and the subtle stir of leaves. Every sound contributed to the serene balance of the clearing, reminding her that awareness of subtlety was a pathway to understanding. Athena opened her eyes, observing the pool once more. Moonlight glimmered on the surface, scattering into delicate patterns across the surrounding moss and ferns. She traced the ripples, following their gentle movement, and realized that even in the smallest gestures, like a finger brushing water, a leaf drifting in a breeze, or an insect skimming the surface, there was a quiet lesson to be learned. Patience, attentiveness, and gentle observation revealed truths that were otherwise hidden. A soft rustle drew her gaze to the edge of the glade, where small nocturnal creatures moved carefully through the underbrush. A pair of rabbits hopped lightly, pausing briefly to nibble at low foliage before continuing. Athena observed them without disturbance, noting their careful, deliberate movements and the subtle communication between them. Each step, each pause, each glance was part of the intricate rhythm of life, adding to the quiet symphony of the night. Athena rose slowly, moving around the edge of the pool and letting her hands brush lightly over the soft moss. The reflection of the moon in the water mirrored the glow of the distant fireflies she had followed on previous nights, creating a connection between the glade and the wider forest. She realized that every element she had encountered, light, shadow, movement, sound, and texture, was part of an interconnected whole. Each offered lessons in patience, harmony, and the subtle unfolding of understanding. She paused at the far side of the glade, looking upward at the tall trees whose leaves rustled softly in the night breeze. The stars glimmered faintly through gaps in the branches, echoing the distant fireflies in the shimmering moonlight. Athena felt a quiet anticipation for what lay ahead, knowing that the mountains still held more subtle revelations, waiting patiently for attentive eyes to perceive them. The owl flapped lightly, settling back on her shoulder, and Athena began to follow a narrow path leading gently away from the glade. The air was cooler here, carrying hints of distant streams and the soft fragrance of pine. She moved slowly, her steps deliberate, her awareness tuned to every small movement in the forest, the sway of ferns, the glimmer of moonlight on leaves, the tiny scuttling of creatures hidden in the underbrush. And so she walked onward, guided by the serene reflection of the moonlit pool, the gentle rhythm of the forest, and the subtle lessons of interconnectedness she had gathered. Each step carried her deeper into the quiet, patient wisdom of the mountains, where subtle truths awaited, ready to reveal themselves to eyes that noticed with care and hearts that observed with gentle attention. Chapter 22: The Luminous Grove. Athena followed the winding path that led gently upward from the moonlit glade. The forest was hushed, the nocturnal creatures moving with deliberate, careful steps around her. The owl perched steadily on her shoulder, its eyes bright and alert, reflecting the soft light of the moon above. Athena inhaled deeply, the cool night air carrying faint scents of pine, moss, and damp earth, mingled with the subtle perfume of unseen flowers. Ahead, a soft glow appeared between the trees. It was not the pale silver of the moon or the golden flicker of fireflies she had seen before. This light shimmered with a gentle, otherworldly hue, faintly bluish and soft, like liquid starlight pooling among the roots and leaves. Athena paused, her breath catching softly at the sight. The glow pulsed ever so slightly, illuminating the surrounding ferns and stones in delicate, shifting patterns. The owl stirred slightly, its feathers brushing lightly against her arm. Athena stepped closer, careful not to disturb the quiet energy of the place. She noticed that the glow originated from clusters of luminous moss and delicate flowers growing along the forest floor and around the bases of the trees. Their gentle luminescence seemed almost alive, responding subtly to her presence. Athena knelt to examine one of the glowing flowers. Its petals were translucent, catching the faintest light and scattering it softly across her fingers. She inhaled the faint fragrance, delicate and sweet, like a mixture of dew and night-blooming blooms. The owl tilted its head, observing with quiet interest. Athena marveled at how the light seemed to flow through the grove naturally, never harsh, never demanding attention, yet impossible to ignore. "This place," she whispered softly, "is teaching me again gentleness, patience, and the quiet power of subtle guidance." She ran her fingers lightly along the moss-covered stones, noting the cool smoothness beneath her touch and how the glow wrapped around each contour. Even the smallest details, the curve of a root, the tip of a fern, the tiny veins in the petals, contributed to the serene illumination of the grove. Athena rose slowly, walking carefully through the luminous clusters, letting her gaze wander over the delicate patterns of light and shadow. Every step seemed to reveal a new aspect of the grove, the way the moss clung to stones in soft folds, how the flowers tilted slightly toward one another as if communicating in silence, and how the moonlight mingled seamlessly with the bluish glow, creating a quiet symphony of illumination. The owl flapped lightly, landing on a low branch nearby. Athena paused to watch a small group of glowing insects hovering near a patch of luminous moss. Their movement was slow and deliberate, wings catching the soft light and reflecting it in faint, fleeting patterns across the leaves. Athena noted the harmony of motion, the subtle balance between light and dark, movement and stillness. She understood that the grove's glow was not simply decorative. It was a gentle teacher, showing how attention, patience, and harmony could illuminate even the quietest moments. She knelt again beside a small pool at the center of the grove. The water reflected the soft bluish glow of the moss and flowers, scattering delicate patterns across the surrounding stones. Athena dipped her fingers into the cool surface, sending ripples that distorted and shifted the reflected light. The movement was gentle, deliberate, and mesmerizing, creating a quiet interplay between stillness and change. She smiled softly, recognizing that the lessons of the luminous grove echoed everything she had learned on her journey so far: subtlety, attentiveness, and the delicate balance of forces often unseen. The owl called softly, and Athena glanced up at the moon, its silver light mingling with the bluish glow to create a serene, almost magical harmony. She traced the edges of the pool with her hand, letting her touch linger on the smooth stones and the soft moss. Each detail, she realized, carried its own quiet wisdom, inviting her to observe, reflect, and understand. A gentle breeze moved through the grove, carrying with it the faint scent of pine and earth, stirring the luminous flowers and moss in a slow, rhythmic motion. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the scent, the light, and the quiet movement settle her thoughts. She observed how each element responded to the subtle currents around it, the moss bending slightly, the petals of the flowers trembling, the reflection of the moon rippling across the pool, and understood that harmony arises not through force, but through attentiveness and gentle interaction. She rose, moving carefully along the path that curved through the luminous grove. The glow shifted with her presence, ebbing and flowing around her as if acknowledging her careful attention. Athena's thoughts wandered softly to the lessons she had gathered along her journey: the silver feather's guidance, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the fireflies, the stone circle, the distant glow, the moonlit mist, the whispering waterfall, the nocturnal dance, and the serene reflection of the glade. Now the luminous grove offered another layer, the quiet illumination that emerges when one moves with care and observes with patience. Athena paused on a small rise at the edge of the grove, letting her gaze sweep over the glowing clusters of moss and flowers below. The owl shifted slightly, wings brushing her arm, and she felt a deep sense of calm settle in her chest. The forest, the moon, the luminous plants, and the gentle nocturnal creatures all contributed to a quiet, interconnected harmony. She realized again that wisdom is not always loud or immediate. It often resides in subtle, deliberate patterns, revealed to those who notice with care. With careful steps, Athena continued along the path, leaving the luminous grove behind but carrying its lessons with her. The gentle glow faded gradually into the shadows of the deeper forest, but the awareness it inspired remained. lingering softly in her mind. Each step forward was a conscious reflection of attentiveness, patience, and harmony, preparing her for the next discovery that awaited silently among the mountains. And so she moved onward, guided by the soft glow of the luminous grove, the steady presence of the owl, and the patient rhythm of life around her. Each moment, each observation, each quiet reflection brought her deeper into the hidden truths of the forest, where subtle illumination and gentle guidance continued to unfold, waiting for those who moved with care and attentive hearts. Chapter 23: The Hidden Sanctuary. Athena moved gently along the mountain path, leaving the luminous grove behind. The owl perched silently on her shoulder, its feathers brushing softly against her arm as she walked. The forest felt different now, quieter, more intimate, as though the trees themselves had leaned in, guiding her steps toward a place meant to reveal yet another subtle truth. The moon cast silver beams through the canopy, illuminating the path and tracing delicate patterns across moss and stones. As she rounded a bend, Athena noticed a faint opening between two tall ancient oaks. The trees arched gracefully, forming a natural gateway into a secluded sanctuary hidden deep within the forest. A soft breeze carried the scent of damp earth, pine, and faint blossoms, inviting her inside. She stepped through slowly, her sandals brushing lightly against the mossy floor, each step deliberate and mindful. The sanctuary was serene. A small creek wound through its center, the water clear and cool, flowing softly over smooth stones. Its gentle murmuring blended with the rustling of leaves and the occasional chirp of nocturnal insects, creating a soothing symphony. Athena knelt by the edge of the creek, letting her fingers dip into the water. The coolness seeped into her skin, grounding her and filling her with calm awareness. She noticed the smooth stones lining the creek's edge, each shaped by the persistent, gentle flow of water over countless seasons. Athena ran her fingers over one, feeling the subtle grooves and curves. Even the hardest things, she whispered softly, can be shaped by patience and gentle persistence. The owl blinked slowly, eyes reflecting the soft moonlight, and Athena smiled, sensing its quiet approval. The sanctuary's trees were tall and ancient, their branches intertwined above to form a delicate lattice that filtered moonlight into a soft, silvery glow. Moss hung from the branches in long, delicate strands, swaying gently in the breeze. Athena traced the lines of the branches with her gaze, marveling at the intricate patterns they formed. Each curve, twist, and intersection was a testament to time, patience, and quiet resilience. A patch of wildflowers grew near the creek, petals gently illuminated by the moonlight. Athena knelt again, brushing her fingers lightly across the blossoms. Their softness, delicate curves, and faint fragrance reminded her of the luminous grove, of the subtle guidance she had experienced there. She realized that even in isolation, even in hidden corners of the world, quiet wisdom could flourish, waiting for attentive eyes to notice. Athena followed the creek further into the sanctuary, stepping carefully over smooth stones and along patches of moss. She noticed tiny ripples spreading across the water as a small fish darted beneath the surface, and she observed the interaction between light, shadow, and movement with soft curiosity. Each moment, each ripple, each gentle motion seemed to offer insight into balance, harmony, and the quiet pulse of life that persisted even in the most secluded places. The owl shifted slightly, giving a low, approving call. Athena smiled softly and took a deep breath, letting the combined sense of earth, moss, and flowers settle her thoughts. She reflected on the journey that had brought her here, the feather, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the fireflies, the stone circle, the distant glow, the moonlit mist, the whispering waterfall, the nocturnal dance, the moonlit glade, and the luminous grove. Now, this hidden sanctuary added another layer of understanding, the quiet strength and wisdom that grows in places unseen and untouched, thriving through persistence and gentle care. Athena knelt beside a particularly smooth stone by the creek, letting her hand rest lightly on its surface. She watched as water flowed around it, sometimes rushing slightly in shallow eddies, sometimes moving with a calm, unhurried rhythm. She noticed how the stone, though unmoving, shaped the water's path subtly, and how the water, in turn, shaped the stone over time. Balance, she whispered, exists when each influences the other gently and patiently. The owl's eyes reflected the moonlight as it shifted its gaze around the sanctuary. Athena noticed a faint shimmer in the water, the reflection of the moon mingling with tiny specks of phosphorescent algae. The glow was gentle, almost imperceptible, yet it added a delicate magic to the scene. She traced the light with her fingers, letting her thoughts drift to the interconnectedness of all things: the forest, the creek, the trees, the moss, the creatures, and even herself. A soft breeze stirred, moving through the sanctuary, rustling leaves and gently swaying branches. Athena closed her eyes, letting the rhythm of the wind, water, and nocturnal life merge into a single harmonious pulse. She felt deeply present, aware of every sensation: the cool brush of air on her skin, the smoothness of stones beneath her hands, the gentle murmur of the creek, and the soft brush of the owl's feathers against her arm. Each detail carried meaning. Each moment offered insight into subtle truths that could only be discovered through patient observation and gentle attentiveness. Athena rose slowly, moving to the center of the sanctuary, where the creek widened slightly into a calm pool. Moonlight and faint phosphorescence danced across the surface, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow. She knelt at the water's edge, letting her hands hover just above the ripples. The pool mirrored the night sky, blending the stars above with the subtle glow of life below. Athena felt a quiet connection to both the heavens and the forest, understanding that wisdom exists in the interplay between what is seen and what is hidden, what is constant and what flows. She followed the edge of the pool along a soft rise, letting her fingers brush the moss-covered stones as she walked. The gentle flow of water accompanied her steps, a soft rhythm that seemed to echo the pulse of her own thoughts and reflections. Every movement of the sanctuary, the sway of branches, the shimmer of water, the gentle glow of algae, offered lessons in patience, harmony, and quiet guidance. Athena felt the sanctuary itself as a living teacher, showing her how subtle, persistent wisdom grows in spaces where attentiveness and care are applied consistently over time. With deliberate steps, Athena began to leave the sanctuary, tracing the path that led back toward the forest trail. She looked back one last time at the moonlit clearing, the smooth creek, and the ancient trees, absorbing the serene strength and quiet illumination that the sanctuary offered. Each lesson from this hidden space became a part of her understanding, stored gently in her awareness like a delicate treasure. And so she moved onward, guided by the calm persistence of the sanctuary, the quiet illumination of the water, the soft glow of moss and algae, and the steady presence of the owl. Each step, each observation, each gentle reflection carried her deeper into the hidden truths of the mountains, preparing her for the next quiet revelation waiting silently along her path. Chapter 24: The Summit of Quiet Wisdom. Athena continued along the narrow mountain trail, the owl perched lightly on her shoulder, wings occasionally brushing her robes. The forest thinned as she climbed, revealing glimpses of the valley below bathed in soft moonlight. Each step was deliberate, her feet pressing gently into the earth, her senses attuned to every subtle sound: the rustle of leaves, the whisper of a distant stream, the faint sigh of the wind through the trees. As she ascended higher, the path opened onto a wide, rocky plateau. The air here was cooler, crisper, carrying the mingled scents of stone, pine, and distant flowers. Athena paused, letting the breeze brush against her skin and listening to the quiet symphony of night. The owl shifted slightly, eyes scanning the horizon, its soft presence a grounding reminder of her steady companion throughout the journey. The plateau offered an unobstructed view of the night sky. Stars glimmered faintly, delicate and distant, scattered across the deep indigo expanse. The moon hung low, casting silver light that washed the rocks and sparse grass in a gentle glow. Athena knelt on a smooth stone, letting her fingers brush over its cool surface, and lifted her gaze fully to the heavens. She felt a deep sense of calm, an understanding that had grown quietly through each step, each observation, and each subtle lesson along the path. The silver feather's guidance, the murmuring stones, the hidden carving, the firefly's illumination, the stone circle's balance, the distant glow, the moonlit mist, the whispering waterfall, the nocturnal dance of the foxes, the reflection of the moonlit glade, the luminous grove, and the hidden sanctuary. Each had contributed, patiently and gently, to the quiet expansion of her understanding. Athena breathed deeply, feeling the rhythm of her heart align with the pulse of the night. She realized that wisdom is not a loud proclamation, nor a treasure to be seized in haste. It is subtle, present in the smallest movements, the quietest moments, the gentle interplay of forces in the world. The flow of water, The sway of leaves, the shimmer of moonlight, all spoke softly of harmony, patience, and enduring balance. The owl gave a low, approving call, and Athena smiled softly, acknowledging its constant presence. She looked down at the valley below, shadows and silver light blending in a delicate mosaic. She imagined the forest she had traversed, the glades, groves, and hidden sanctuaries, all interconnected in ways that were gentle yet profound. Her reflection extended beyond what she had seen. She understood that wisdom flows quietly, often unseen, influencing life in subtle, enduring ways. Athena extended her hand toward the sky, as if reaching for the distant stars. She felt the cool night air brush her fingers and traced the constellations with her gaze. Each star seemed to pulse with its own quiet rhythm, a distant reminder that even the vastness of the heavens held subtle guidance for those willing to observe with care. She thought of the flowing water, the luminous moss, the nocturnal creatures, and all the soft lessons she had gathered. The connections were endless, subtle, and delicate, yet they formed a tapestry of understanding more profound than any single encounter could convey. She lowered her hand and closed her eyes briefly, letting all the sensations, scent, texture, sound, light, blend into a calm awareness. In the quiet, she felt her own spirit aligned with the rhythm of the forest, the mountains, and the stars above. The journey had been gentle, deliberate, and unhurried, revealing truths not through sudden revelation, but through attentive presence and patient observation. Athena opened her eyes and noticed a faint shimmer across the plateau. Moonlight danced along the stones, reflecting tiny glimmers as if the earth itself acknowledged the quiet culmination of her journey. She stepped carefully to the edge of the plateau, letting her gaze drift across the valley one last time. The owl shifted, feathers rustling softly, and she felt a profound gratitude, not just for the guidance she had received, but for the unfolding of the lessons in their own time, each revealing itself precisely when she was ready to understand. She knelt once more, touching the cool stone beneath her, and whispered softly, "Wisdom is patient. It is quiet. It flows through every leaf, every ripple, every star. It waits for those who are willing to notice." The words felt more like recognition than a declaration, a gentle acknowledgement of the truths she had absorbed. The moonlight shifted as clouds passed gently across the sky, softening the glow. Athena sat quietly, letting the plateau's stillness settle around her. Her journey had carried her through the forest, along streams and waterfalls, across glades, groves, and hidden sanctuaries, revealing guidance in forms both tangible and ephemeral. And now, at the summit, she understood that all these experiences were part of a single, unbroken thread, the subtle, patient unfolding of wisdom, quiet yet profoundly present in every moment of attentive life. The owl stretched its wings lightly, giving a soft call that echoed across the plateau. Athena reached out, letting her fingers brush its feathers once more. She felt a deep connection to the natural world, to the subtle rhythms she had observed, and to the enduring presence of guidance that flows quietly through all things. As the night deepened, she leaned back against the cool stone, eyes lifted to the stars, and allowed herself to rest in the serenity of understanding. The plateau, the moon, the forest below, and the distant mountains all seemed to hum softly with the quiet energy of life and knowledge. Athena felt her spirit aligned with it, a gentle awareness that would remain with her long after she returned to the world below. And so she remained, bathed in the silver light of the moon, embraced by the quiet wisdom of the mountains, and cradled by the gentle rhythm of the forest. The owl perched steadily on her shoulder, a silent emblem of the journey's guidance, and the night stretched softly around them, full of subtle truths, patient lessons, and enduring illumination. Athena understood, finally, that wisdom is not always revealed in grand gestures or loud proclamations. It lives in the gentle flow of water, the sway of trees, the subtle luminescence of flowers, the careful movement of creatures, and the quiet presence of attentive hearts. It is in noticing, in being present, and in moving gently through the world with awareness and care. And in that quiet realization, she felt a deep, lasting peace, knowing that her journey had reached its gentle, patient conclusion, leaving her fully attuned to the subtle, enduring truths that flow through every living thing and through every quiet moment of life.